Welcome in then to the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you very much.
Welcome along. I'm James Ollie. I'm joined by Mark Ogden and Rob Dawson. How are you both? Good Christmases?
Great Christmas, yeah, full of turkey and everything.
Yeah. For full disclosure here, we are actually recording this podcast before Christmas. So as we record, Pep's still 3 games away from the 500-game milestone. And given the run they've been on, I guess there's a little bit of doubt about whether he's going to get there. But regardless, there is a lot to talk about.
Joining us today, we've got Bill Connolly, who's been looking at the data of Pep's time in charge. Bill, thanks for joining us today. The piece that you've done that's on the ESPN website, what's the data telling you about what's gone wrong in this last few weeks and months?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is that things have genuinely gone wrong. There is nothing you can find here over these last 7-8 years that compares. The only thing you can compare this to is, a stretch in October and November of his first year. And then again in April, they started struggling late in the season. And this is still much worse than that. This really was, I don't know at what point you began to believe it was something different. I know 3, 4, 5 matches in, I'm just, I'm not falling for this. It's all going to right itself, but it just keeps getting worse. The defensive numbers are, XG per shot, worst in the league, worst in the last 8 years in the Premier League. Just things like that are as bad as we've ever seen, really. And it's pretty jarring. It's been, we're used to cycles for everybody, but this is completely different than anything a Pep Guardiola team has ever seen.
If there's one thing from the data that stuck out to you more than anything else, that maybe City fans would look at as one of the biggest indicators that things have gone wrong, what would you say to them?
It's the defense. The attack numbers aren't amazing right now by City standards, but they're still within a given range. But over a 10-game span, I think the worst XG allowed average was 1.3, and now it's 2.1. Heading, and again, we're recording this before the 500th match, so who knows what will happen these next couple of matches, but. No, it's 62% worse than any other 10-game span that we've seen with Guardiola at City, and all the other worst 10-game averages are the ones right before this one. So that really is everything. We're used to seeing when the transition defense isn't quite up to speed. We're used to seeing them giving up bigger chances, but this isn't even transition defense. The counterattack numbers aren't any higher than they've ever been. It's just defense or opponents just figuring out how to carve straight through that midfield and create good opportunities in their kind of their regular build-up attack. And this is completely different.
Bill, is it a thing of age? So I'm looking at the players that have had most numbers in Pep's time at City, and the top 5 are all of 30, and they're all still there. Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Ederson, Kyle Walker, Ilkay Gundogan, who's come back from Barcelona after, a year on the beach would be harsh, but he's had a year in a less intense league, and he's come back to the Premier League where it's much harder. He's not adapted. So is it a case of just City just got old at the same time, and that's what's catching up with them?
Yeah, I think their transition to a new generation just hasn't stuck, because you're right. Looking at 12 guys have over 15,000 minutes for City under Guardiola, and 9 of them are still on the team. One of those is Phil Foden. Ruben Diaz cracked the 15,000 a little while ago, but 31 years old, 30, 33, 34, 34. And bringing Gundogan back, I think was a big tell there too. Obviously, Rodri's injury had something to play with that, but the fact that they didn't know what else to do. They didn't have that next generation ready to go, and they had to call somebody back at 34 years old. I think that was extremely telling for whatever reason, whether it's recruitment, whether it's him not finding the trust that he needs to find in other players. It's just not there, and he's had to rely on that same cast for a very long time.
Is this all about Rodri? Let's be honest, Rodri was injured. Gundogan's had to play a lot more games than he probably would have done had he get back with Rodri in the team. Is it a case of just, yes, he's an important player, Rodri, but he was like, he was the one part of the machine that once you pull it out, everything falls to pieces?
Well, I think it is kind of poetic that Pep Guardiola has basically built a system that is, where the single most important player on the pitch at any given time is the player playing his position. Fernandinho was the, I went back and looked at his numbers from those early great City teams where he has, I like the progressive carries and the progressive pass stats. He had 826 of those. Fernandinho did in 2017-18. That was third most in the league. The carries and passes combined. But then these last couple of years with Rodri, 23-24, Rodri had 980 combined progressive carries and progressive passes. Right now, if you look at the numbers that Kovacic and Lewis and Gundogan have produced from the defensive midfield position, they're basically on pace for about 700. So that's, again, this is more about defense than attack, but just that pivot has been so perfect these last couple of years, especially. And the 1 year where they didn't win the title, 2019-20, was when it was Rodri's first year in. He hadn't quite figured things out. Fernandinho was starting to age a little bit, and they had they had two, but not really, neither was playing at the same level. As soon as Rodri figured it out, that was it. So, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That is the... if Rodri is healthy, we're looking at an old team that is probably underachieving compared to past years, but it's not this. There's no question about that.
I mean, they just look like a team that's run out of energy. I'm just looking at some of these other stats that counter-attacks per game. This year it's 12.4. The year before it was 18.3. All recoveries per game. This year it's 42. Last year it's 54.6. Those stats alone just show you that they're not playing with the same intensity they have done in recent years.
It's been really interesting. I looked at the league averages from year to year, going back to the year before Guardiola arrived until now. And these last 2 years, especially in the league, everything has slowed down dramatically. So the year before Guardiola got there, the Premier League as a whole averaged 101.5 possessions per game, which is, Klopp level intensity. Just pretty ridiculous numbers when you think about it now. This year, they're at 82.3 league-wide. That's basically what City was averaging those first few years, and it was so much lower than everybody else. Now that's the average. So what has City done? They're averaging 70 possessions per game this year. That's jarring. That's easily the lowest that I've seen, because the joke about how when things don't work right, Guardiola just tries to get more control and more control. That basically means playing at the slowest pace imaginable. I think even Arsenal has really ratcheted things down, and they're at 72 or 73. These are dramatic changes these last couple of years, and it seems to have, there's no energy, there's no quick attack, there's no anything, and again, the attack numbers are okay. They're not amazing, but they're okay, but it's not helping them control anything defensively at all.
Kevin De Bruyne, so obviously Kevin De Bruyne is 33 and I think he's 34 next summer. And you look at his numbers, he's got 83 more assists than any Man City player going into this weekend. Who's played under Guardiola, so that's a massive lead. In terms of chances created, he's got 994, which is almost twice as many as Bernardo Silva. So now Kevin De Bruyne hasn't had the greatest of last 18 months. He's had a few injuries, obviously age is catching up with him, and he's not producing the same number of assists and chances created. So how do they replace that? And I suppose he's the guy that, it signifies where City have gone wrong, that if he's not producing, then the team isn't producing.
Right. It seems like, between him, Kyle Walker, we've talked about how he's been ageless for a few years. He's no longer ageless. It's caught up to him a little bit. Gundogan isn't as fast. He can't play quite as many positions or as many possessions ridiculously well as he used to. Bernardo Silva is over 26,000 minutes now as well, and he's at 30 as well. So the odometer is just has piled up for a lot of guys. But you're right, De Bruyne in particular, not only the most assists of anybody under Guardiola, but over twice as many as Silva. Silva's second at 69. De Bruyne has 152 assists, almost 1,000. Probably by the chance, by match 500, De Bruyne will have 1,000 chances created. Bernardo Silva is second, just over 550. So even among this old group, he has been relied upon for so much through these years. Yeah, it's going to be. They've had a lot of opportunities to see what that world is going to look like without him, with his injuries over the last couple of years, but still don't really know the answer, and it's going to be interesting to see well, it's going to be interesting to see a lot of things, but De Bruyne's absence is going to be particularly interesting.
Bill, is there any, when you look at the data, are there any players who should be getting more of an opportunity? Is there any, basically, are there solutions within the squad that Guardiola maybe hasn't quite turned to often enough yet?
Well, that is kind of the interesting thing is it feels like there have been enough other injuries. Obviously, Rodri has been the defining absence, but in adjusting for that, and, if he wants to play Ake somewhere other than center back, he really can't because he doesn't have enough center back. So it does seem like just getting the rest of the squad healthy will absolutely help. So we can actually see what his vision is. I think that's the most interesting thing right now is we don't even know how he wants to fix the current problems because he's just playing who he has to play. And I mean, part of this is his fault. He likes the tight rotations with 17, 18 guys. Even now, I was looking at Chelsea's numbers yesterday, the number of guys they've played. Obviously, their roster building strategy has been just a little bit different, but you're still just looking at 17, 18, 19 guys who have had any serious minutes this year. Ake's return will help. John Stones wants to be healthy for an extended period of time. That'd be great. But no, the most interesting thing right now is we don't even know what he wants his plan to be because he's just playing the guys he has available.
So if De Bruyne is not creating the chances and Rodri's not fit to control the pace of the game, is that why Erling Haaland's not having as many chances, not scoring as many goals?
Well, and people looking into, are they too reliant on him to begin with? I think that's absolutely true. The percentage of shots that he's taken has been kind of wild this year. But no, I mean, I think, Silva has done a pretty good job in terms of chance creation and things like that. But it feels like, the attack as a whole has just been really, really disjointed, whether it's, Doku being really good at one very specific thing, but not necessarily, creating a lot of chances from that. He's really good at winning 1v1s and advancing the ball. But once it's advanced, they're getting more shots blocked than ever right now. It's a lot of things like that. I do think that they have rebuilt their attack to around one guy, but it's obviously not helping him very much right now because his shot totals are even lower. Like they were never high, like his touches and whatnot. They're as low as they've been right now. It just feels like there's been one giant alteration to the machine, but then all these other little things haven't really worked either.
So, Bill, do you think we'll be having this conversation in another 500 games time, or are we seeing the City team run out of steam right now?
No, it's obviously they're going to, we'll see how many players they end up adding in January. It sounds like it's going to be 2, 3, 4, and it was desperately needed. So we'll see. So 500 is probably a lot, I would say. But obviously, even besides the roster itself, they've got plenty of other things to worry about. But yeah, it's unlikely that he gets to 500 once, much less twice. So we'll see what he's doing in 8, 9 more years.
Thanks for joining us today, Bill, and hopefully Pep Guardiola gets a chance to read your piece on the ESPN website.
Okay, so let's get into Pep Guardiola a little bit more. Where I'd like to start this conversation is, are we enjoying this? And by that I mean, is it an interesting, sort of fascinating challenge to see one of the greatest managers of all time going through something he's never experienced before? Or is this actually quite sad that we're seeing one of the best Premier League teams in history almost fall apart in front of our eyes?
There's definitely a fascination to it, and I would liken it to pro golfers at the Open hacking round in the wind and the rain and, taking 3 shots out of the rough like any normal golfer would. You watch pro golfers to see them hit the big drives and sink the big putts, but there is a fascination about seeing someone at the top of their game struggle to that extent, and I think that's probably what we're seeing a little bit now with City. Obviously, there's not going to be much sympathy with neutral fans for what City are going through because of how City have been built, and City will be well aware of that. But I think generally, unless you're an avid Man City fan, there is a fascination about seeing it, arguably the best manager in the world and one of the best teams in the world struggle to this extent, because it's not just a simple dip of, they've drawn 3 games out of 5. I mean, this is a serious blip, and it does look, sometimes when you look at them, like you are watching before your eyes one of the best teams in the world fall apart.
I mean, it's true. I mean, Pep has never been through adversity before. I mean, this is the first time he started his managerial career at Barcelona in 2008, won a treble his first season, and since then it has been. He's had a gilded career, hasn't it? Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Man City. He's been at the biggest, most powerful clubs in the country at that time, and he's never had anything like this. So it's funny, after the game at Anfield when they lost to Liverpool, I put that point in the press conference. You've never been in this situation before. What is it like? And he kind of ducked it by saying, well, the wine doesn't taste as good as it normally does. And he hasn't yet acknowledged that he's in a real kind of crisis. He hasn't acknowledged that he's in a situation whereby he might not have the skill set or the tools to get out of it, because he's never been here before. I can't think of his biggest crisis before this crisis, in inverted commas, would have been, is it losing 3 games at Bayern Munich? And it's just
first season at City was tough. That we don't coach tackles after the Leicester game where they were well beat, and he looked a little bit rattled.
Claudio Bravo,
but obviously that was still very, very early. This is different.
And he knew then as well that he'd been given the licence by City's owners to completely rip it up and start again. But you're right, I mean, finishing 4th that first season, if you look at that league table, I think there may be a point or goal difference ahead of Man United. So if he'd missed out of the Champions League, but still, this is something that is just off the scale. And I don't know if he knows how to deal with it, because I was in Turin for the Juventus game when they lost, and he had Gundogan and De Bruyne in midfield. And we've spoken about their age a lot now. And Pep keeps saying they're not an old team, but they are an old team. Gundogan's 34, De Bruyne's 33. They played 90 plus whatever minutes, 95 minutes against Juventus. He waited till the 87th minute to make a change, and it was Matheus Nunes on for Jack Grealish. And then 4 days later, the Manchester derby, he's starting to midfield De Bruyne and Gundogan. I couldn't believe it that he's not. Now, obviously, he's got injuries. People like John Stones are missing, but where is Pep's kind of innovation here? Where's his genius in the sense that he's seen a problem and made it go away? Forever, his teams has always been about having the best players in the best team, and he's just go out and play. And now he's going to have to think about it as a coach. I haven't seen any.
Well, there is innovation. He won the league without.
No, I mean now in this situation, where is his innovation now? Where is his plan? What is he doing different now that he's never done before? Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying? He's not done anything different in this situation. It's almost like he doesn't know what to do. And we can't believe I'm saying that about Pep Guardiola, but perhaps because he's had such a brilliant career at the biggest, richest, most successful clubs, in a situation now where he's having to manage like Sam Allardyce, and he don't know how to do it.
One of the biggest surprises, I think, is, I know we've crunched the numbers, but is the mentality issue of conceding leads. You think about the final game, obviously the Manchester derby. Okay, I understand the argument. If we're talking about them being an old side, they're still a very experienced side as a result of that, right? So they go hand in hand. And yet, what we're seeing is a quite shocking game management, repeatedly, time and again, and just the absolute sort of brittle, fragile nature of this side. That the moment they concede, they just seem to collapse. I mean, where has that come from? Because we're not talking about, we've got rid of these players and there's a new group who don't know the league, don't know, to City, maybe they're 20, 21, 22. This is an experienced, ageing group who you would think when they get themselves into a winning position would know how to hold on to it.
I think that's the biggest indicator that something is seriously wrong. Obviously, you can look at the data columns and, you're conceding too many goals, you're not scoring enough. That's obviously a recipe for disaster. But the biggest indicator for me, you mentioned the Manchester derby there, but also that Feyenoord game when they were winning 3-0. Pep Guardiola's City do not surrender 3-0 leads ever. They've gone 3 and 4-0 up and then conceded 1 goal, and they've just you can see Pep Guardiola on the touchline and he just goes, right, shut this down.
Well, they keep the ball for an hour.
I'm sick of this game now. We're finished. We're not playing anymore. We're going to take our ball and we're going to go away. We're going to win 3-1, and they just couldn't do it against Feyenoord. And I thought it was even more obvious in the Manchester derby, in that they work so hard in a really tough period to get themselves ahead in a really tight game, and you concede a late penalty because of a mistake. It happens. Mistakes happens in all games to all players. But after that, I thought that we'd see Pep Guardiola on the touchline to his players and say, look, if we can't win it, fine, but we don't lose. So just keep the ball for 5 minutes and we'll just go. We'll take what we've got. And they couldn't do it. There was no pressure on the ball when Martinez walks up to the halfway line. He plays that long pass. It travels so long in the air. You've got Amad Diallo, it's a good run, but it's not a particularly clever run. It's just in behind Vardiol, who's completely out of position. And it's a decent finish. But City, for the first time ever, sat in the press box, and we were sat next to each other. For those final sort of 3 or 4 minutes, they look rattled. And I genuinely don't know why that is, because that's nothing to do with
with the run that they're on, because you've just said there they've got experienced players like Walker, Gundogan, De Bruyne I don't think was on the pitch at the time, but all these serial winners, you would think that the one thing that they've got is the mentality to say, look, and the game management to say, look, let's just put a foot on the ball and we'll just end this game now. And they couldn't do it.
But they've stopped pressing. They're not pressing up front now. As you mentioned the Martinez situation where he was free to send the ball. So they're not working hard as it used to be up front. And they are so susceptible to pace on the counter-attack because Kyle Walker's not got any pace anymore. So Diallo, that goal that won the derby was won. The Feyenoord game, I think on each occasion that the pace of the Feyenoord counter-attack.
Runners in behind.
Absolutely. They can't handle that. So all of a sudden I think the players know. I mean, I feel like Nostradamus. I was sat there at half-time in that game thinking what's going to happen here is that United will get into this game in the second half and City will be holding on for the last half an hour because they haven't got the legs. And it sounds like you're just dismissing a group of players, they haven't got the legs, but they really haven't got the legs. And I don't know if it's because, they've had so much intensity over the last 2.5 years. They've been in every competition and international competitions. And whether this season is just one season too far, but if that's the case, this season's got 8 months to go for Man City because they're in the Club World Cup. It could go until the middle of July. And if you're one of the City players, now you're thinking, and even Guardiola, you look at him thinking, how on earth are they going to sustain themselves through a difficult winter to be able to play in July? And we're talking in a minute about potentially bringing players in January, which won't be as easy as people think, but they need to bring somebody in.
Just on that point, I interviewed Bernardo Silva in August a couple of years ago, so he'd just come through what would have been their pre-season training. And it was in a small talk before we actually started the interview, and I said, you've just done another pre-season with Pep, what's that like? And he went, it's hard, I'm exhausted. And he wasn't joking. And that was 2 or 3 years ago. And this is the same group of players are having to deal with the same manager. Now, Pep Guardiola is obviously a genius, but he's incredibly intense in the way that he operates, the way that he speaks to his players. That has got to be really, really tiring, especially for that core of players who have been with him for 5, 6, 7 years. And you talk about a lack of energy and a lack of, they can't press anymore, the lack of legs, but it's also there's got to be some kind of mental fatigue there as well.
Though? That changes something because Pep said after the Euros, he basically said, I don't want to see my players again until they want to see a ball. And he made it clear that, I think a lot of his players were in the Euros to the semi-finals to the final, so a lot of them didn't go on the summer tour, and he did make that point. That was a quote, I don't want to see my players until they're ready to see a ball again. And a lot of players didn't come back until late August, early September, so whether I don't know if they had the same pre-season with the same intensity and they're paying a price. I know it happened at Chelsea under Jose Mourinho. They had a terrible pre-season. It was the season that Jose got sacked. They won the league, and then I think he was sacked after a game at Leicester. They were so far off the pace because they weren't fit enough. Whether that's happened at City, they haven't had the same pre-season because they were unable to. But if that's the case, they're not going to catch it up.
Do either of you think there are any issues in the camp? And I'm thinking specifically of Kevin De Bruyne here, because we know that obviously there's a contract situation in the background, but my mind goes back to Anfield when he doesn't come on, and
he's not getting any contracts.
But he's a big personality in that team, rightly so. One of the best Premier League, if not the best Premier League midfielder there's ever been, certainly up there. Is there? Do you think there are issues? Maybe between him and Guardiola, or Guardiola and some of the other players? I don't think that Pep has been on record as saying that there's no personal issue with I think they've got quite a difficult relationship in the terms of how they are as characters, but I think they've managed to make that relationship work. I think you're right to point out that De Bruyne is obviously out of contract at the end of the season, and it's a big 6 months for him. I think City maybe will be looking at his injury record and thinking, do we really want to invest that amount of money again in someone who has had 2 really big injury layoffs?
He started talking last summer about leaving, didn't he? So he's already,
There were other sides. The Edison thing in the summer, and towards the end of last season, Stefan Ortega comes in for that game at Spurs. I think you were at, and he makes that huge save. Pep Guardiola, praises him to the ends of the earth and said, he's the reason we've won. Essentially, he's the reason why we've won the league because it's such a big game. Edison apparently is not particularly thrilled, and then Guardiola has to come out in the next press conference and he's asked again about Ortega, and he says, well, I'm not going to talk about Ortega, I want to talk about what Edison has done over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. Then you've got a situation where Edison is actively trying to leave in the summer. It doesn't happen. These things, these little sort of details haven't really happened to Pep.
But they haven't. The point is though, they have happened, but they haven't hung around. So with De Bruyne,
dealt with very quickly. This one hasn't.
Yeah, with De Bruyne, obviously, not starting a game at Anfield just looks crazy, right? That looks as though there's got to be something else going on there. Yeah, okay, he's had fitness issues, whatever. But you think of players like João Cancelo, who's just booted out of the club basically, and then Edison obviously still around. De Bruyne is still around. Is it a case that they've not been as cutthroat as maybe they could have been? with some of the players that maybe are now problems for them.
I mean, to your point on De Bruyne, as we know, both Pep and De Bruyne denied there's a problem there. But then, I have to say, I've never known many situations where two people at a club that have fallen out actually come out and say, we're not getting on with each other and we're still together. So, I think, we'll wait and see on that. I think what it is, I think you've got a lot of players who've been at City now for, throughout the Pep Guardiola period, most of the time, and De Bruyne is one of them. You've got De Bruyne, Kyle Walker, you've got Bernardo Silva, you've got Gundogan, who, when they started working with Pep, it was a case of, this guy's going to win me lots of trophies, he's an absolute genius, I'm going to do whatever he says. But they've won all those trophies now. So it's almost like, I've flogged myself for 7-8 years. I know exactly what I've won. I can't handle this intensity. I need to be treated differently now. I need a different approach. And I think the point about should they have moved these players on, I think they took their eye off the ball in two summer windows, whereby 18 months ago, that would have been, they won the treble. They let Gundogan go. Great decision. Right decision. Brought him back. Terrible decision. They could have let De Bruyne go then because his injuries just started to stack up. He had a good season last year, but De Bruyne is clearly being affected by injuries. But what's happened is, when they let Gundogan go in 2023, if they'd moved a couple more on, they wouldn't be in a situation now where they've got 4 or 5 that look like come to the end of the road.
And they might have kept Cole Palmer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they might have kept Tosin. They might have kept Romeo Lavia.
Yeah.
There are kids who've gone on and done very well elsewhere that maybe they look like they got a good price for at the time.
Absolutely.
That actually could be the cornerstones of this new team.
So they were just kind of maintaining the squad then, but now they're plugging gaps, and it's hard to plug 4 or 5 gaps at once, isn't it? Because you look back to the end of the Man United era under Sir Alex Ferguson, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Vidic, Patrice Evra, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, Michael Carrick to a certain extent. All of a sudden, these guys have to be replaced. And United tried to replace them. They couldn't do it. Each time they signed an inferior player. And that is the danger that City face now because, let's say that they brought in Mateus Nunes to replace Gundogan, which hasn't worked out. So once you start signing players that aren't as good as the ones that they're replacing, it happened to Liverpool back in the 90s. It's a long way back. And I think City are at that point now where, unless they get it right in January, and that is debatable because they've got...
So what are they going to do in January? Because they've made some quite positive noises about going to splash the cash.
So they announced last week their financial results, and they basically made a profit of £139 million on transfer dealings this year. But they've got a huge war chest of profit because they haven't spent much in the last 2 years, so they've got money to spend.
And sold a lot of academy graduates as well.
Yeah, so they've got a big transfer kitty, as they say. But they are wanting to bring players, and the 2 names that I've had mentioned to me, I'm sure you've heard the same, are Martin Zubimendi at Real Sociedad and Bruno Guimaraes at Newcastle. Now, Zubimendi didn't go to Liverpool in the summer for whatever reason. I think it's very hard to get players at Sociedad and Bilbao, as we know. But for that to happen, I'd imagine Liverpool will be back in for Zubimendi. If it's an indication that he'll leave, they'll be back in for him. So what is the most attractive option to Zubimendi, Liverpool or Man City? It's debatable. But the bigger question for me is that we still don't know the outcome yet of the 115 charges and what City deny all the charges we know. It could go either way. If City are hit with a massive points deduction, probably apply next season. But if they're out of the Champions League, maybe not even the Premier League or way down the table, these players that might sign in January are thinking, well, I don't want to stick around for that. I want to be in the Champions League next season. What assurance is going to give me that I can move on? City can't give anybody a relegation clause or a non-Champions League clause. If they give one player that, the whole squad will want one. So if they're bringing people in January, they're going to have to get over that hurdle. And it's not as easy as people think. It's not just a case of throwing money at somebody, because people like Zubimendi and Guimaraes will have other offers.
Well, and we should just update on the case that the hearing is now finished. And the verdict is due. Well, I mean, it was originally going to be due sort of early mid-January. It now sounds like it might be later, February, maybe even March. So nobody who's signing in January can do so with any clarity around what league they're going to be playing in next year, or what constraints are going to be placed on City in the future. And
it may run into the summer as well, because the appeal process could take forever.
That's what I was just going to say.
That's the issue they've got, that players want clarity. So it's exactly the same when the Super League happened, and the players were being threatened with not playing international football. They go and say, well, I want to know where I'm going to be playing in the next season. And if you can't give them any clarity, you are going to struggle to sign players.
I mean, I know
on 1-0 with a goal difference of -10 away, so it's almost carbon copy of each other. So you have to take that into consideration. I know Brighton, as you say, are a bit streaky, but you'd expect them to get the job done. If you're just looking for a pick on the outrights, then I think both teams score. I mean, these two sides both average over 3 goals a match. Brighton to win and both teams to score is 13-8, which is much more appealing. I've got a bet builder which I like. Whatever Brentford do, and Mbeumo and Wissa always seem to shape up, and they score goals in defeat, they score consolations. Wissa's got 9 in the league, Mbeumo's got 10. Wissa got this really weird pattern of scoring where he scores one, misses one, scores one, misses one. Well, he didn't score in the last game, so if you like those kind of like patterns, then maybe look at him. But I've gone for both of them guys to have a shot on target each. So Mbeumo at least 1 shot on target, Wissa at least 1 shot on target, and the man who's got to try and contain them one of the men is Van Hecke at the back. I've got him to have a card as well. So over 2.5 goals in a match, Van Hecke a yellow card, shot on target for Mbeumo, shot on target for Wissa. That's 12-1, but you can bump it up to 15-1 with your 25% winnings boost. You need 3 or more picks, 3-1 or bigger, and a £20 max stake. So that bet builder I just gave you ticks that box, and you get impact sub on your side as well. So that means if the player that you back goes off, whoever replaces him carries on your bet. And interestingly, the manager, the Brighton manager, 82 substitutions in 17 league games, resulting in 9 goals or assists this season. So if you're going to back someone on the Brighton side, then you never know, the sub might come on and give you a hand. That's also available on the Arsenal Ipswich game as well. Looking forward to listening to this one, guys.
Great stuff, Lee. Thanks very much for joining us. That odds update, all thanks to William Hill, 18+, BeGambleAware.org.
In the Zone on TalkSport 2 with William Hill, 18+, GambleAware.org.
Well, as we've been talking about, Brighton currently on a 5-game winless streak, but their manager Fabian Hürzeler is hoping they can turn their form around, starting here at the Amex this evening.
I'm not the biggest fan of statistics. I know the statistics for sure, but the statistics don't give you any guarantee to win the game. So we try to prepare it like any other game. We try to see it as a challenge, as an opportunity for us to get out of this circle of bad experiences, and try to be the best version, try to play with more intensity, and try to give the fans and the supporters like a present.
That's the Brighton manager Fabian Hürzeler. I think his team have just won the prize for the worst lighting show of 2024. We're currently around about the midway stage of the Premier League season. Brentford 12th in the table. These were the reflections of their boss Thomas Frank on his team's campaign so far.
I think we are in a better place. I think we have seen some better offensive performances and more consistent offensive performances, and we got, touchwood, our key players still available. Last year at this point, it was similar time at Brighton or something like that. I think we lost Brighton that game, so touchwood, we will not do that again. But we still have Kevin, we have Damsgaard fully firing, so we are, I would say, in a good place. Of course, still need to look into to defend better in spells, but in general, I think we're in a good place.
So you've heard from both managers now, Fabian Hürzeler of Brighton, Thomas Frank of Brentford. I guess the question, Dean, who's this a bigger game for tonight? Brighton without a win in 5, or Brentford still looking for their first away win of the season?
I still feel like when you're at home, it has to be the team that's at home, because you're in front of your home support, you're on a particularly poor run, and it's a chance and an opportunity, certainly around this time of the year, where you can lift the supporters, you can give them that hope again that this team can push forwards in the second half of the season, and especially with a team that's so close to you that if you do lose this game, can go ahead of you. So it feels like it's a big game for Brighton, but once again, when I look at Brighton, there's so many great patterns of play, but it's the players that stand out, individual players. Belieber for me at the moment is a player that I've watched over the last 4 or 5 months, and I'm just so impressed with the way he's slotted in. I am, absolutely I am. And, Caicedo obviously left for big money, and this kid has come in at 20 years old and just looks so assured, got so many attributes to make him a top midfield player. And Enciso tonight getting an opportunity from the start. We all remember that stunning strike from distance against Manchester City, the injuries that he's had. Can he try and find that form once again?
I think he needs to, actually, because I think he's a player that potentially, if there's interest in taking him on loan in January, Brighton might consider that, bearing in mind this is his first league start of the season. Evan Ferguson not in the squad tonight, we're told, because of injury. I think they've got a big decision to make over him as well, haven't they?
Yeah, because he'll be the type of character I would expect that wants to play, having done already what he's done in his career, knowing the talents that he's got. And those individuals in this side, if they put it together, they're an unbelievable side. It's just gone a little stale in recent weeks, in both boxes. And it doesn't take much to turn that around. And tonight's a great chance for them.
Well, the two sets of players just emerging from the tunnel, only a few feet below us here in the press box at the Amex. There's pyrotechnics over on the far side. Smoke currently filling the Sussex air as Fatboy Slim is belted out on the PA system. Will Brighton be able to provide the fireworks tonight to get back to winning ways, or will it be Brentford to sparkle here on TalkSport 2? Just a reminder of the live football we have coming your way over the next few days. Over on TalkSport at 8:15 tonight, big game for Arsenal as they look to cut the gap at the top to leaders Liverpool. They're at home to struggling Ipswich. On Sunday, we are jam full of live football. 12:30 here on TalkSport 2. Sheffield United bidding to bounce back from defeat at home to Burnley as they take on West Brom in the Championship. 2:30 on TalkSport. It's Leicester against the crumbling champions Manchester City. 3 o'clock here on TalkSport 2. We've got Tottenham against Wolves. Tottenham beaten again at Forest on Boxing Day. And at 5:45 live on TalkSport. Derby against Leeds, the Championship leaders, making the relatively short trip to Pride Park. And on Monday night, Manchester United, talk about a team who need a win. They're at home to the revitalised Newcastle. Newcastle 5th in the Premier League table as it stands. That is an 8 o'clock kickoff. And of course we continue on New Year's Day. We have our comprehensive Around the Ground show. 1 o'clock on TalkSport. Dean Ashton will be amongst the pundits on show. And at 8 o'clock on New Year's evening, Sunderland against Sheffield United. Live and exclusive to National Radio on TalkSport. That is another huge EFL game. Tonight though, our focus is on Brighton and Brentford in the Premier League. Where, Dean Ashton, could this game be won and lost?
Well, it's hard to look past at the moment for Brentford is those wide players, and Buemo and Sardé's in decent form. Obviously Wissa through the middle against Veltman and Estupinian. Estupinian loves to get forwards, doesn't he, on that left-hand side? But will he be trapped in by Buemo for Brentford? And João Pedro, for me, a player that can look so scintillating but can also drift out of games. We both watched him at the London Stadium. He sort of drifts in and out of the game. He wanders into positions that he feels comfortable in. Where's he going to play? Is he going to play as the 9? Is he going to drop in and play as a 10? He's a player that can win a game on his own, though.
It's going to be interesting actually to see how they line up, because there was some chat in the press room amongst the local Brighton journalists that maybe Julio Enciso could play as a false 9 and allow João Pedro to operate in that number 10.
Well, Jorginho Rutter, who played alongside João Pedro against West Ham, they almost played as a 2 at times, especially out of possession they were a 2, and then they took it in turns almost to slot into that number 10 role at 9. I just think you then lose that focal point, which is what Danny Welbeck gives you. Danny Welbeck wants to stay up at the top end of the pitch. He wants to stretch the defence, whereas João Pedro wants to come short and get involved with the play, and I'm sure Enciso will do the same. Are they going to lose something with not having someone right at the top end of the pitch against Ben Mee and Collins?
Well, these two may both be in the bottom 6 in the recent form table, but if either can get back to winning ways this evening, it would get them right back in the hunt for a European place. That's why the stakes are so high at a packed Amex Stadium. Looking around me, there is not one empty seat in the house, and it's Brentford who get us underway here in their, well, predominantly dark green strip with yellow socks shooting from right to left. Brighton in the blue and white striped jerseys, blue shorts and white socks are attacking the goal away to our right hand side. I'll run you through once again the two teams in a moment, but Brighton have a throw in a promising position on this near right touchline, almost level with the penalty area. Joel Veltman will trot forward to take it. Already I'm noticing that Jan-Paul van Hecker is sporting a Terry Butcher style headband. He picked up a head injury, didn't he, at West Ham at the weekend, Dean? We were there.
Yeah, and it's sometimes you think, should a player be playing in the next game because of a head injury such as that? But neatly strapped, should we say?
Throw-in taken short. Veltman with a cross from the right-hand side, but into the side netting, and an early goal kick for Brentford. 0-0 the score here with just a minute played. Brighton, to remind you, have Verbruggen in goal. It's a back four of Veltman, Van Hecke, Dunk and Estupinian, Baleba and O'Reilly in midfield, with Gruder and Ciso and Matoma in behind. João Pedro up front for Brentford. Flecken in goal. A back four of Roerslev, Collins, Mee and Lewis Potter. Janelt, Norgard and Damsgaard, a very Scandinavian midfield trio with Mbumo, Wissa and Sharda in that attack that's been full of goals over the course of the season. Brentford in possession. Ben Mee goes long, left-footed into the Brighton half. Veltman got there just ahead of Sharda and nods it back to his goalkeeper Verbruggen, who comes a long way out of his penalty area, the Dutchman, and clears it upfield.
Well, I'm sure we'll expect Brighton to want to keep plenty of possession. 7th in the league with 53%, whereas Brentford aren't as bothered. They will look to go a bit longer, quicker, and I think they will try and target. When Estupinian wants to go and drift, as he likes to, into midfield and really wide, will they target that area and try and draw Lewis Dunk out of his centre-back position?
Matoma has been dispossessed on halfway, and that allows Brentford to counter away to our left with the fleet of foot. Mikael Damsgaard plays it back to the halfway line, and Collins, the ex-Wolverhampton Wanderers defender, plays it out to his right-hand side where Roerslev can take over. He actually went off with a head injury at the weekend, Roerslev, but has been given the all-clear to start tonight. They've got 9 injuries, Brentford, coming into this game, many of them affecting their defensive options. The goalkeeper, Flecken, just 1 clean sheet in 19 appearances this season, opts to go long, and
well, that was a chance.
Picks out his opposite number in the end, because I think Wissa and Sharda almost got in each other's way.
Did. They absolutely did. Poor communication, and then Sharda at the last second thought, I'll try and go for it, and he just missed it. Otherwise, they would have been in there. The 2 Brentford forwards. It's a decent ping from Flecken.
They aren't afraid to go direct, are they, Brentford, at times, as Gruder comes forward down the right for Brighton. Good little exchange between him and João Pedro, but Sharda gets back there and is just too strong for Gruder, making a second successive Premier League start, and then the ball is cleared out this right-hand side by Flecken, kept in play by Mbumo, and then Lewis Dunk, the Brighton captain, side puts it out for a throw. 4 minutes gone, 0-0 here on TalkSport 2. Both managers, Thomas Frank and Fabian Hürzeler, already patrolling their technical areas. Thomas Frank wearing gloves as Brighton come forward, and Ciso hits the post. Well, Brentford there caught short at the back, and then Ciso seemed to have the freedom of the Amex to let fly from just inside the area. The goalkeeper was beaten, and Brentford saved by the frame of the goal, Dean Ashton.
Well, it was nearly a disaster defensively as O'Reilly's down the right.
Here they come again. O'Reilly with a chance to cross potentially. Good start from Brighton. Veltman does cross right-footed towards Enciso, and it's cleared away by Collins. Picked up on the edge of the area by Baleba, wearing lime green boots, Baleba, as he rolls it out to the Japanese international Matoma. Everybody bar Verbruggen, the Brighton goalkeeper, is camped inside the Brentford half of the field, such as the host domination in these first 5 minutes.
Well, just going back to that chance for Enciso, nearly a disaster for Brentford, trying to play out Flecken in towards midfield, who was quickly seized upon, straight into João Pedro, a little layoff to Enciso, tried to curl it in towards that far post, and just bounced it off the base of the post and away. It was a real chance for Enciso to, I think, really lift his confidence.
Well, he hasn't scored actually in the Premier League since that goal you mentioned against Manchester City, the Premier League goal of the season back in May 2023. He won't come any closer. He's just headed wide as well, across, chipped in by Van Hecke. Bit of breaking news from the Championship. This was suggested to me a week or so ago actually that could be on the cards. Stoke City have parted company with their head coach Narcis Palach. He was only appointed on September the 18th. They're 9 games without a win, so yet another manager has failed at the Bet365. They just can't seem to get it right in the dugout there. Breaking news on TalkSport 2. Here is João Pedro raiding down the left for Brighton into the penalty area, but that was well defended by Vitaly Janelt. Ushering the ball back to Flecken, he cleared upfield, 0-0.
Really, really good midfield play. Saw the danger, just slotted into a space that was opened up by João Pedro and just stepped across the Brazilian. Really good
Here's
intelligence.
Enciso with that streak of blonde in his hair, coming forward down the Brighton right, getting it back from Veltman, and then a couple of step overs from Enciso. Looks in the mood, doesn't he? But as I say that, he gives it away. And it's going to be Mikkel Damsgaard to try and get Brentford on the attack, and Bournemouth dispossessed inside the centre circle, and here comes Enciso again, being urged to shoot by the Brighton fans. Maybe he should have done, because he opted to try and roll it forward to João Pedro. Got the pass all wrong, and it's cleared away by Roerslev. 0-0, but Brighton on top, Dean.
Very much so, and a nice combination already between Enciso and João Pedro. Good understanding between the pair.
And here's Gruder, edge of the penalty area, cutting in from that right-hand side. Belieber forward to João Pedro. Tried the 1-2 on the edge of the box with O'Reilly. Still alive with Belieber, who shoots left-footed. And it's a good save, low down by Flecken. The danger not over yet, though. Gruder with a cross into the box. Enciso couldn't get there. Van Hecker will keep the home side on the attack. The Brighton supporters encouraged by this start. Gruder into the penalty area, away from his man, pulls it back. O'Reilly is there, and his shot deflects behind for a corner. 0-0.
Incredibly bright start from Brighton. Every time that Brentford try and clear it, they're on them, they're pressing, they're winning it back straight away. Belieber with a decent strike. You'd expect Flecken to make the save, and he does the right thing by palming it out of harm's way also. But they're just recycling the ball, looking to get the ball in the box when they can, get the runners from midfield too.
8 minutes gone on TalkSport 2. Brighton 0, Brentford 0. Under the lights in foggy Sussex. Corner comes in from the right-hand side towards João Pedro. Good header away by Ben Mee, and Enciso went for the overhead. Didn't really make a clean connection, but just helps it on inside the penalty area to Gruder. Gruder, flanked by two Brentford players, in the end is content to win a throw over on the far side.
Yeah, it was a terrific defensive header. I think it was Ben Mee who was just about to be bulldozed by João Pedro. Brave header to get it away. Expect nothing less from him.
Belieber runs himself into a cul-de-sac on the edge of the Brentford penalty area, and Bournemouth just taps it back to Roerslev, and then Norgard gets a touch in midfield. The Bees haven't really been able to get a foothold in the game so far. 9 minutes gone, it's 0-0. Brighton have already hit the post with Enciso, and it's given away again on the edge of the Brentford area. João Pedro with a chance to run. Not totally sure what he was trying to do there, but it is kept alive by Estupinian. And then Enciso felt he was sent tumbling on the edge of the box. The referee Andy Madley had a very good view and says no, and then Wisser goes down, and Brentford, much to the frustration of the home fans, are given a free kick.
Yeah, and Thomas Frank, rightly so, turns round to the fourth official to say, well, give it another 10 or 15 minutes and that's a yellow card. Why would it not be a yellow card just because it's the start of the game? Matoma hacks down Visser, who's away on the counter-attack. Has to be a yellow card. Strange decision from Andy Madley.
Crystal Palace, the only team in the Premier League to win at the Amex this season. That was a chastening 3-1 defeat for the Seagulls against their arch rivals. Brentford have never won here in the Premier League. Of course, they've not won anywhere away from home this season, just 1 point from 8 games on their travels. The G-Tech such a fortress until that defeat at home to Forest last time out. So Thomas Frank's side looking to bounce back. Live on TalkSport 2, but 0-0 the score, with 10 minutes played in dank and dreary and very chilly conditions.
And over on that far side, Estupinian, he's the key player, I think, this evening, because he's up against Mbeumo, who will do the defensive work. He wants to help his side, but will want to get forwards. And Estupinian, he's just so dynamic with his movement, whether that's into midfield or into the forward areas or out wide. He really will be let loose by Hertzler to go and raid down the left-hand side, and it could be the key to opening Brentford up or allowing Brentford to counter-attack down that side.
Verbruggen, the Brighton goalkeeper, plays the ball upfield. It's won back by Collins, and then Belieber with a strong challenge that leaves Norgard down, but the referee didn't see an infringement. Brentford have possession anyway with Mbeumo down their right, cuts it back for Damsgaard, and his cross is blocked out a play by Belieber for a throw. Brentford trying to apply some pressure on the Brighton back line finally.
He's having a good season, Damsgaard, isn't he? Always knew he was a terrific player. Remember his goal in the Euros against England.
It's taken him a while, hasn't it, to adjust to Premier League life.
I think they found the position for him, and he's gone and linked up with the forward players brilliantly this season.
There'll be a throw-in for Brentford. They aren't averse to launching it long. Sharda hoists it into the penalty area, headed away by João Pedro at the near post. The referee spotted a handball anyway, so it will be a free kick for the Seagulls. 117 goals in games involving these two sides so far this season, so it shouldn't finish 0-0.
No, it shouldn't, because you've got 4 players that want to attack and maybe not defend at certain times. You've also got players that will drift out of position and leave holes for the opposition to exploit also.
João Pedro turning away from Ben Mee. He was being held by the Brentford centre-back, gets a free kick, takes it long, looks to pick out Matoma. Brilliant piece of control from him. Matoma into the penalty area, chance to cross, and Enciso in there with a header into the floor, and it bounces kindly into the arms of Flecker. That was a rapid Brighton counter-attack. All came from a really quick piece of thinking from João Pedro with a free kick, and brilliant skill by Matoma to take the ball from the air.
Magnificent, wasn't it, from Kara Matoma? The ball was just pinged out towards him, and it was like a swish of a fishing rod, that leg that just flicked out, controlled it, jinked inside. Lovely little ball into Enciso, met it perfectly, just straight at the goalkeeper.
Here come Brentford at the other end, ball forward to Wissa inside the penalty area, and Johan Wissa picks out the right corner, and Brentford have the opening goal against the run of play. Talk about Route 1. It was launched upfield. Wissa was too quick for Veltman, who was the last man back for Brighton, and it's a brilliant finish into the far corner to make it Brighton 0, Brentford 1.
And it's down that side where Estupiñán just gets drawn in by Brian Mbeumo. He leaves the gap and dunks out of position, leaves a big hole. Van Hecke goes across and does nothing. Doesn't quite get there to block.
He's onside, is he? Wissa?
Oh, it's going to be so close. Of course it's going to be looked at.
I think if you look at the line, there is a suggestion to me that maybe Wissa's knee is slightly behind.
Well, you're trusting the groundsman then, that is perfect, that line.
It's a brilliant finish. A really good finish.
Just takes
but they are checking it for offside. I think he's off.
It's just that front knee, almost as he's making that stride, the first stride that he makes, Wissa, is whether that front knee just goes ahead. This is so close, you don't think about this as a forward. He's not looking across at Van Hecke's toe. He's making the run when he thinks he's timed it perfectly. He takes a brilliant first touch and then just whips it into the top corner.
Well, this is one of those that could take a while to clear up. We saw one, didn't we, at Anfield last night? Took 3 minutes. The red line's come across, and the commentator called it right. He was off.
He was. Just a fraction, that knee, just stepping across.
And the linesman's got his lines perfect.
I'll go and speak to him after and said that you called it and the groundsman were right.
Well, that's so unfortunate for Brentford, because it was such a good move, wasn't it, from front to back in no time at all, and then a brilliant finish from Wissa into the far corner. It would have been his 10th Premier League goal of the season, but it is ruled out and it stays 0-0.
Yeah, incredibly clinical, wasn't it? The opposite to what we've seen at the other end from Enciso. It was magnificent, the touch and the finish, but just strayed.
Well, the World Darts Championship is in full swing. We'll have live coverage as soon as we're done here at the Amex. Let's get an update from Ali Pally with Paul Nicholson.
Thanks, Alex. Yes, we're 2 sets into tonight's action with Gezi Price of Wales, the former world champion, up against Joe Cullen. Joe missed 2 darts to win the first set, subsequently lost the set in the next leg, so 3-2 Price in set 1, but in set 2 Price put his foot down, averaging over 108, and Cullen's resistance, it was there but it wasn't good enough, and again Price wins by 3 legs to 2. So it's Gezi Price 2, Joe Cullen 0.
Cheers, Paul. Live coverage from Alexandra Palace once we're done here. Brighton 0, Brentford 0. First 16 minutes has been a really good watch, actually. Brentford have had the ball in the net, ruled out for offside as they look to pick out Wissett on the edge of the area. Well defended by the men in blue and white. I guess you have to pay credit to these Brentford forwards. All three of them have scored plenty of goals this season. We don't really talk about the departure of Ivan Toney anymore, do we?
No, we don't. Visser's stepped in brilliantly, hasn't he, as the forward down the middle, and Sharda's come in and played well on this left-hand side. And we know all about Mbeumo. Just wonder how long can they hold on to him for.
Here's Vitali Janelt, low left-footed ball to the edge of the area. Damsgaard trying to work some space, 10 yards outside the box. Collins will come forward. It's been a good 4 or 5 minutes for Brentford, having had to soak up a lot of early Brighton pressure. They've gone all the way back to their goalkeeper Flecken.
And every time he gets it, Flecken, he's threatening that long ball over the top, and it's just made Brighton just step off 2 or 3 yards, and then it's allowing him to either play into Norgard or clip it into one of the full-backs. And it's just that threat, isn't it, with all 3 players staying high for Brentford, that Flecken can go long and get them in behind, as they did for the disallowed goal.
It was literally 3 passes, wasn't it, to set up the chance. Collins has given the ball away cheaply inside his own half. Estupinian seized upon that mistake, and now Gruder linking up with Veltman down the right. Veltman will be the most relieved of the Brighton players. The goal was ruled out. Gruder thought about a shot. Was he brought down by Wissett? Just on the edge of the D. Yes, he was. Free kick in a promising position here for the Seagulls. 0-0.
Yeah, nice play from Gruder. He just saw Visser coming back to help defend, and he just added a chop on the ball just to take it away from Visser, and Visser couldn't stop. He didn't actually really make a challenge. It was his body that bounced into Gruder to win the free kick. And a nice opportunity from 5 or 6 yards outside the penalty area, just to the right-hand side.
He cost £25 million, Gruder, the German, signed from Mainz over in the Bundesliga, a player that clearly Fabian Hürzeler knows well, but took him a while to make his full Premier League debut. That only happened at West Ham on Saturday in that 1-1 draw. He wasn't overly impressive in East London. He's one of the 3 Brighton players stood over this free kick, and Ciso is just to the left of the ball. Veltman, if he's going to take it, I think it's going to be one of those defender shots where he runs from about 10 yards and just smashes it goalwards. Looks like Enciso is going to pull rank here. As you know, it is Gruder, left-footed, deflected, and that made it an awkward save for Flecken down to his right.
Well, you've got to hope that Flecken moves, and he didn't. He stayed his side, he trusted his wall, and Gruder went that side with no real height to his attempt, and made it very easy to Flecken.
It's a real contrast of styles, isn't it? Because straight after he made that save, Flecken's first thought was to just launch the ball long upfield. They're going from back to front very quickly, as we saw with the disallowed goal. Brighton's build up much more patient.
And also, I think they recognise that maybe certainly the Brighton fullbacks aren't necessarily the most physical. So Sharda has already won a couple of headers against Veltman, and Mbeumo against Estupinian. Just avoiding Van Hecker and Dunk, but looking once it's wide to then double up and support with Damsgaard and Janelt.
20 minutes gone here. Brighton 0, Brentford 0. Here's O'Reilly, the Danish international, facing many of his teammates in Brentford ranks this evening. Gruder switches the ball across the box from right to left. Matoma brings it down brilliantly again. It's flanked by 2 Brentford players in Rohrsleffen and Mbeumo, but back heels it and then crosses. It was Estupinian with a back heel, and then Matoma with a cross. Just confirmation on the big screen as the ball sails into Flecken's gloves. Visser's goal, initially awarded on field, VAR checked and established that Visser was in an offside position, and therefore the goal was very quickly disallowed.
But that's the least the supporters deserve, isn't it? To at least understand what's happened with VAR. Difficult at the time, of course, but at least that was quickly dealt with. We didn't have the nonsense that we've seen over the last couple of days, with over 3 minutes just for an offside, where you just can't understand why it is taking so long.
I couldn't get my head around that last night. The first goal that was ruled out, it was pretty clear he was onside. Get on with the game. The second goal that was given, it was pretty clear that Darwin Núñez was offside. You only needed to look at one still shot and it took 3.5 minutes. Baffling. Here's Wissa taking on Van Hecke. Well done by the Brighton defender. Stood tall and won back possession, but the clearance goes initially straight back to Brentford and Norgard. Brighton have it back now with Gruder. Forward to João Pedro inside the centre circle. He hurdles away from one challenge and then just lays it off short to Estupinian. And now Baliba, probably Brighton's player of the season so far, the Cameroonian. Van Hecke looks to pick out Matoma, and you know he's going to take the ball under his spell, even if it comes down with snow on it. And he does it again, Matoma, on that far side. Then rolls it back to Estupinian. Again, everybody bar Verbruggen is in the Brentford half away to our right. It's 0-0, but Brighton probing here, having already hit a post and had a let-off when Wissa's goal was ruled out for offside. Action-packed start to the game. Gruder, right corner of the area. Forward to O'Reilly. O'Reilly with a cross, and it's headed goalwards by Enciso. Black power, really, and it's straight into the arms of Flecken. 0-0.
Yeah, always difficult when there's not a lot of pace on the ball. He did his best to guide it towards goal.
Giving it away again, Brentford. Well inside their own half. Enciso thought about the shot from distance, rolls it off to Veltman down the right-hand side, and now Estupinian forward into Enciso. Looked lively so far, the Paraguayan, determined to make the most of his first start in the league this season. Gruder finds O'Reilly. O'Reilly into the penalty area, shoots low. That's a good save by Flecken, because it came for a crowd of bodies, and he saves it down to his right-hand side.
Yeah, he's probably expecting O'Reilly to drift onto his left foot. He doesn't, he just taps it to the right-hand side, takes the strike on through Ben Mee's leg, which makes Flecken save even better because he's seen it late.
Lovely ovation there for Solly March as he comes out to warm up for the first time back in the Brighton squad after 14 months out injured. You've been there, Dean Ashton. It's the worst thing, isn't it, for a player?
Oh, it's horrendous. Yeah, 15 months for myself, but I tell you what, it's special when you get back and you hear those supporters and you get the nerves ready to get back on the pitch. Really hope he gets some minutes tonight.
Well, if he does, then you will be able to hear the roar all the way from here right into the centre of Brighton. We're on the outskirts of Brighton, deep in the heart of the Sussex Downs, under the lights at the Amex, 0-0 with 24 minutes played on TalkSport 2. Don't forget live World Championship darts, hot on the hills when we're finished here. It's already been a brilliant tournament. I know you enjoyed the sights and sounds of Ali Pali around Christmas time.
Yeah, maybe more the sounds than the sights, with how much I could see. Brilliant night, though.
Tell you
absolutely
what, the
brilliant.
picture you sent of yourself was a sight for sore eyes.
Darts on the radio, by the way, absolute winner. Been listening to that on my travels.
It really does work. If you haven't tried it, get the TalkSport app. Best way to swipe between TalkSport and TalkSport 2. Live on TalkSport tonight, we've got Arsenal at home to Ipswich. And here on TalkSport 2, it's still 0-0. We play 25 minutes at the Amex. Matoma scooting towards the penalty area. Pedro trying to let it run across his body, couldn't do that, and then Veltman's gone diving in on Sharda. Again, that's probably a yellow card offence. The referee not going to show a card.
Yeah, very lenient, isn't he, so far? That's now 3 potential yellow cards for players. Just let it go, Andy Madley.
You're listening to Brighton against Brentford on TalkSport 2 with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now. Search Now Sports. And a decent game for a 0-0. Finished goalless actually when these two last met at the Amex in April. Sorry, at the GTEC back in April. Here's Sharda down by the left corner flag. Veltman with a strong challenge, but made sure he got the ball and then played it against Sharda for a goal kick.
Absolutely wired into him, didn't he, Veltman? Clattered into Sharda, who has taken it. No response. Fair play.
And he certainly doesn't mind the combative side of the game, Joel Veltman. Very placid fella off the pitch, actually.
Oh, he's one of those, is he?
Van Hecker forward to João Pedro. Ben Mee this time with a challenge from behind. João Pedro goes down, but Brighton is still coming forward with O'Reilly. João Pedro out of the game at this moment in time as O'Reilly's cross into the area is clear, and then Johan Wissa tries to bring it forward for Brentford. 0-0 here at the Amex. João Pedro miraculously is back on his feet. Strange that.
Was hoping for the free kick. It's a shame for him that he was out of the game for that counter-attack. Brentford struggled in terms of their counter-attacks when they turned over possession.
Here's Matoma running at speed into the penalty area, looking for João Pedro with a little poke pass, but straight into the arms of Flecken. He's not been quite the force this season, Matoma, that maybe he has been in recent campaigns, but he started lively enough tonight, hasn't he?
Yeah, just took a deflection. That attempted outside of the right-footed cross towards João Pedro, just bounced off Collins' knee and away from the Brazilian. But you're right, for the talents that he has, you almost think every game he should be influencing from that left-hand side. Sometimes I think he complicates things when he doesn't need to, Matoma.
João Pedro is guilty of that at times as well, of overplaying maybe. He is playing as the number 9. João Pedro, but it's almost a front four, isn't it? If you look across the line, you've got Matoma on the left, Gruder on this right-hand side, and then Enciso and João Pedro in the middle. Very attacking team sent out by Fabian Hürzeler. Goals have been an issue in recent weeks. They had more than enough chances, didn't they, in the second half at West Ham to win that game on Saturday. We were there.
Yeah, and they have already tonight. It's about being clinical, isn't it, with those chances? The build-up's terrific at times, and then either it is an extra pass that doesn't need to be there, or a chance to shoot that's not taken, or slightly overcomplicated with the delivery.
Boomer playing it forward for Brentford, but too much weight on that, and Bart Verbruggen, part of the Dutch side that lost to England in the semis of the Euros in the summer, just rolls the ball towards the penalty spot inside the 18-yard box away to our left. Brighton back in action on Monday night. They go to Aston Villa. We've got a packed Sunday in the Premier League. Stay tuned to Talksport. Lots of live commentaries from both the Premier League and the EFL this weekend. Here's Enciso, forward to Matoma. He's in behind. Matoma cuts the cross back, and it's booted clear by the legs of Flecken at his near post.
Yeah, decent goalkeeping again from Mark Flecken.
He's
Big
certainly
deflection.
been the busier of the two, hasn't he?
He's been busy all season, especially away from home, Mark Flecken, but he did really well to adjust his body there and get the ball away with his feet.
He was just holding his groin after making that save, so we'll keep an eye on that. I mentioned already that Thomas Frank has been bemoaning the sheer volume of injuries that Brentford have picked up in recent weeks. It's the same for a lot of teams in the Premier League. Here's Matoma, left-hand side for Brighton, 10 yards inside the Brentford half. It's 0-0 with half an hour gone on Talksport 2. That's a big diagonal out to the right-hand side, brought down on the chest by Gruder. Into the area he goes, cuts it back for Enciso, and he had a lot of time there to pick out his spot, and he side-footed it well wide. Nobody should have done better.
Everything has fell to him, hasn't it, so far? Enciso, great opportunity. What a wonderful crossfield pass from Dunk to Gruder, and then as he just waits and cuts inside, he just lays it right onto the edge of the area for Enciso to make the attempt, and it's a really poor attempt. He just pulls it horribly wide rather than striking through the ball.
Well, I mentioned that Mark Flecken was holding his groin after making that save. He's down now inside the penalty area receiving treatment. Brighton players, Lewis Dunk, their captain amongst them, are taking the opportunity to get a drink on board, but this would be a real blow for Thomas Frank and for Brentford.
It would, just as he had to adjust because of that deflection, he then had to stretch that right leg out and flick the ball away in one movement. You see him grab his top of his groin straight away.
Doesn't look at all comfortable, does he, Flecken? As you mentioned already, he's certainly seen plenty of action over the course of the season, and so too tonight.
Yeah, I don't think this is time wasting, that's for sure, as I think we've seen quite a few times over recent weeks with goalkeepers going down so that the manager can get some instructions to his side. He does look in a little bit of discomfort, and this would be a big blow for Brentford.
Well, he's back on his feet now, Flecken. Looks like he's going to try and continue. No obvious sign of a backup being readied on the bench, so that's good news for Thomas Frank. There are quite a few subs from both teams warming up away to our left. But I think I just saw the physio give the thumbs up to Thomas Frank, and Flecken will be okay to continue.
And also you hope that it's not really affected his kicking, because that has been a weapon so far for Brentford in this game, the way he's been able to hit Sharda and Mbeumo on the diagonal.
Yeah, 14 minutes to go in the first half, 0-0. Flecken doesn't show any obvious signs of discomfort there as he plays the goal kick, but Brighton have a throw well inside the Brentford half on this near side, the right, as we look low down at the Amex. Gruder skips away from one challenge, then lays it off to Enciso. Took too long to get the ball out from under his studs, and Norgard able to poke it clear. And Mbeumo's had to do a lot of work well inside his own half so far. Not really where Brentford want him to pick up possession. He's got it now down the right hand side, but again still inside Brentford territory, and it's cleared out for a throw by Matoma. 0-0.
But he's got such an unselfish work ethic, Mbeumo, that he wants to help his side out, and he needs to, with Estupiñán drifting into dangerous positions. And you just think, so far, everything that's landed at Enciso's feet, and he just looks a little bit match rusty, doesn't he, in terms of those key moments.
Long ball upfield looking for Sharda, but Verbruggen had a good starting position. All in red, the Brighton goalkeeper comes out and collects on the edge of the area, bowls it out short to the headband wearing Van Hecker, and then Belieber goes all the way back to Verbruggen. 0-0, and we've got 12 minutes of the first half to play on TalkSport 2 there. 10 minutes there or thereabouts away from kick-off over on TalkSport. Arsenal Ipswich is live and exclusive as Matoma runs the ball out of play and concedes a throw-in 10 yards inside his own half. Brentford have conceded more goals than any team in the Premier League from open play this season. They've had a couple of near misses. Flecken's been busy, and Enciso hit the post very early on, but they did, for those of you just joining us on TalkSport 2, have the ball in the back of the net through Wissat, ruled out for the narrowest of offside calls following a VAR check. Lewis Potter with a raking pass out to the right, looking for Mbeumo, but Estupiñán there first, and looks to release Enciso. Good challenge going in by the right back Roerslev, and it's out for a throw.
Well, and you just think, because of that disallowed goal, it makes it feel like Brentford are right in the game. They're not really. They haven't had an attempt, because that's been taken off. They haven't had an attempt on goal, whereas Mark Flecken's gone down.
Yeah, and this doesn't look at all good now from a Brentford perspective, and they do have a substitute ready. Valdim Arson will be coming on. I just saw him actually to our right, getting his tracksuit off, getting the gloves ready, and I think Thomas Frank told Mark Flecken to go down. How big a blow is this, Dean Ashton?
I think it's always a blow when you're taking off your number one goalkeeper. Not only for the manager, but the two centre-backs is always key to have that relationship with your number one goalkeeper. And obviously for Valdim Arson to come on a nice chilly evening. It's not like he did a big warm-up. I watched him, he barely did anything. So he's in and got to get going straight away.
Yeah, big pressure on the Brentford substitute. Mark Flecken able to walk off the pitch. That maybe is a positive sign moving forward. But he shakes his head as he gets a high five from Thomas Frank. He heads straight down the tunnel. And of course, so many games coming thick and fast at this time of year. And well, what pressure on the substitute goalkeeper, Dean Ashton.
It will be. And it's just those first moments, if you're Brighton, you go, right, can we get a couple of attempts at the goalkeeper? Can we pressurise him when the ball's at his feet? Can we just make it difficult for him to settle in the next couple of minutes?
Well, they've got 10 minutes of the half to play. I guess they'll be trying to offer as much protection as possible, Brentford, to their sub-goalkeeper. On the positive side for Mark Flecker, that does go down as only his second clean sheet of the season in the Premier League. And he'll say he earned it with a couple of the saves that he's made in this first half. Valdemarsson, big in stature in front of those travelling Brentford fans. He'll get plenty of vocal encouragement from them as well for the rest of this first half, which remains goalless on Talksport 2. But the injury to Flecken, probably the big moment in the half so far. Valdemarsson coming on for his first Premier League appearance of the season. The Icelander, he's played 2 cup games. Here's Gruder, looking to test him straight away, tried to roll it forward to João Pedro. Clearance almost broke for him, and Ciso inside the box, but they've got it clear as far as Veltman on this right hand side, Brentford. And then Van Hecke plays it out to Matoma down the left. 0-0. It's Matoma inside the penalty area for Brighton. And Ciso with a shot from distance. And the first save that Valdemarsson has had to make is a routine one.
But I like it. I like the idea from Enciso, bit of space outside the area. Let's test the goalkeeper. Sadly, you've just given him a gift to deal with.
Well, the Brentford fans are singing the name of their emergency goalkeeper. As Van Hecke carries the ball slowly over halfway. 0-0, we play 38 minutes. Forward to Believe, a little poke from him out to the left to Enciso. Thinks he was fouled by Norgard. The referee initially wanted to play an advantage, then pulled it back, realising there wasn't one. It's going to be a free kick around about midway inside the Brighton half.
He played a key role though, Norgard, in that previous attack when it was deflected towards Enciso. Again, he's not just watching, he's looking for danger, just slotted in between the 2 centre-backs and cut the ball out.
Would they have hoped to create more chances given the amount of possession they've had, Brighton, in this first half?
No, I think they should have scored with what they've produced, and ultimately it's then down to the players to put those chances away.
João Pedro forward into the area. O'Reilly tries to back it back to him, comes for Enciso. He looks desperate for a goal tonight, doesn't he? Left-footed swipe at the ball, half volley, well wide.
It's just incredible, isn't it, how everything that has fallen for Brighton has fallen to Enciso. This time, edge of the box, not a difficult skill at all on the volley, just cuts right across it, shanks it horribly wide. If I was him, get those boots changed at half-time. It's bound to be them, not you as a player.
Boos from the Brighton fans because they feel like Valdemarsson is wasting time over this goal kick. In the end, he launches it to the halfway line. Schade flicks it on, Wissa with a backheader towards his own half, won by Gruder ahead of Janelt. And then O'Reilly with those socks rolled down. The summer signing from Celtic plays it back to Bart Verbruggen. Does yoga in his spare time. But O'Reilly has a life coach as well. Try and keep him in the best possible mental shape for the rigours of Premier League football. He had to wait actually for his league debut after falling victim to a crude challenge here in an early League Cup game. Here's Wissa into the penalty area, tries to get the ball in his right, shot blocked by Veltman, and then Schade completely took Veltman out of the game, and the referee's going to play on because Brighton have the ball and are coming forward. Wouldn't be surprised if they come back and show a yellow card there. Here's Gruder into the area, onto his right foot. Lewis Potter sticks to the task. O'Reilly chips the ball towards the far post. And it's picked up by Enciso in the area. Enciso with a cross, headed away. Veltman, who's still limping, just dabs it forward to Gruder. But again, they've probably overplayed it there, Brighton, and Brentford will get it clear.
Yeah, they've got so many bodies back there, Brentford. They're just doing enough at the moment to hold Brighton off.
Well, here's Damsgaard looking to make a shooting chance for himself. He carried the ball a long way to the edge of the area, had to evade a couple of challenges, and then was stopped in his tracks eventually. And here are Brighton at the other end. Gruder in the area, cuts it back for O'Reilly. Urged to shoot by the Brighton fans, does so, left-footed towards the top corner, took a deflection, and it's going to be a corner for the home side.
Well, again, an opportunity for Gruder to get out of his feet and shoot. He doesn't. He jinks too many times, gets crowded out, eventually finds O'Reilly 35 yards out. He takes a touch out of his feet, looks to strike, flicks off Ben Mee's head, and just goes away from the Brentford goal. So much good build-up without that clinical edge yet for Brighton.
Just wait for this corner to be swung in. 4 minutes and a half to play. Goalless on TalkSport 2. Home fans in fine voice as O'Reilly stands over the set piece on this near side, the right. Lewis Dunk, always a threat in the air, has come forward, so too Van Hecke. But Verbruggen is the only player inside the Brighton half. Brentford have got everybody back inside their own 18-yard box.
Yeah, which they have done for most of the game. When Brighton have got possession, they're pinning them in. It's only really when Brentford goalkeeper has the ball and Brentford can push forwards that they look a threat from those long balls forward.
The referee is taking a long time for this corner kick to be allowed to come in.
Well, he's having to tell the children off. I think we've all done that over the last few days.
Yeah, we certainly have. O'Reilly, good ball in, flicks off Van Hecke. Matoma on the volley, brilliant hit, and it's hit the stanchion behind the goal. Half the crowd thought that was in the back of the net. Wonderful technique.
Technique lovely, timing beautiful, direction just slightly off. It was brilliantly hit from Matoma with his left foot, just a fraction wide. But of course, anyone sat on this side of the stadium.
The latest episode of the Premier League still has the ability to produce a twist in the storyline. Right now, Liverpool look dead certs, and everything seems against Arsenal. An early season dog by indiscipline, injuries to Ødegaard and now to Bukayo Saka. But we aren't even halfway through the campaign yet, and the only thing that is certain is that the ending is yet to be written. Ipswich Town's story has been a fairy tale in the last 2 years, but I won't lie to you, the step up to the Premier League has been tough. Ipswich need a way to change the narrative too. Leandro Trossard comes in for Bukayo Saka as Mikel Arteta looks for a formula to try and cover up the absence of the man that's provided 10 assists already in the Premier League this season. They start with Raya in goal, Jurrien Timber, William Saliba, Gabriel and Miles Lewis-Kelly at left full back. It's Declan Rice holding in midfield with Martinelli, Ødegaard, Havertz and Trossard behind, Gabriel Jesus in attack. Ipswich alter 5 from a hefty defeat against Newcastle. Liam Delap is available after suspension, but captain Sam Morsey is not available after 5 yellow cards. They go to a back 3 tonight. Aaron Muric has got Jacob Greaves, Dara O'Shea and Luke Worthington in front of him, with Ben Johnson and Leif Davis at wing back, Kayuste and Calvin Phillips holding in midfield, Amari Hutchison and Smodic behind Liam Delap in attack. At TalkSport, we bring you all the Christmas storylines. This is the 10th Premier League commentary in 2 days, and we ain't finished yet. Sunday sees 4 more live commentaries, including A Tale of Two Cities, as Van Nistelrooy and Guardiola clash at 2:30. And then Monday Night Football, Manchester United against Newcastle, live on TalkSport. Right now, a chance to go second against the team second bottom. even on this crazy round of Boxing Day fixtures, surely there's not another sudden turning point for Arsenal. Alan Pardew, the former West Ham, Newcastle and Palace manager, is here. Ipswich have conceded 7 goals in the opening quarter of an hour this season. They've almost opened the scoring here with a cross into the box from the left-hand side by Leif Davis, which Smodic got across in front of the goalkeeper and almost connected with.
Yeah, I mean, great start by Ipswich. They just hit a high ball up to Delap, and be interesting to see his performance tonight, because obviously a sort of player that Arsenal need. Arsenal now on the attack.
Yeah, and it's important that they hold firm Ipswich in the early exchanges. The ball goes deep to the far post from the right side, where Martinelli is patrolling tonight, with Jesus at present is working out on the left-hand channel. Interesting, with Havertz and Trossard back together again in the middle of the Arsenal attack. The ball wide on the right with Martinelli, long sleeve shirt on, white-bodied, red-bodied white sleeves, white shorts and red socks, attacking the goal away to our right. He's wearing gloves tonight, Martinelli. Gets it back to Urian Timber, then across to Gabriel, and then out the other side to Miles Lewis Skelly, who finds Gabriel Jesus, who's managed to conjure up 5 goals in his last 2 games, both of those games against Crystal Palace. And Arsenal will be hoping that he continues his goal-scoring streak against Ipswich tonight. 90 seconds played, 0-0. And this new shape is interesting. We thought it would be a back 3 with wing-backs, but actually it's probably, when they're without the ball, Alan, going to be a back 5.
Yeah, it's definitely, it looks like Dara's going through the middle as a sort of centre of the 3 centre-backs. But Arsenal being very patient. It's interesting to see Delap dropping so deep as the lone striker. He's almost like 35 yards from the goal, so they're setting the stall out to a very, very low block.
Here is Martinelli on this right-hand side into Ødegaard, who tried to turn, couldn't do so. Dara O'Shea's clearance wasn't crisp enough, and Ødegaard's won it back right corner of the penalty area as they attack the goal away to our right. Ødegaard again flicking it over the top in the inside right channel, looking for the languid figure of Havertz, the long, lean, gaunt figure who swishes the ball over his shoulder and into the penalty area. It's cleared away by Ipswich, and it goes out on this near side for a throw-in, which is quickly taken. Ødegaard sends it infield. It's blocked by Kayuste, and then Smodic allows it to run through to Delap. Delap, who's pushed to the floor by Havertz. It's going to be a free kick 10 yards short of the halfway line, wide on the left. Is Alan Pardew.
Yeah, that's an important sort of role for Delap tonight, to try and win some kind of possession or win free kicks like he did there. Got nicked by it in Newcastle, sort of cheap line defence, and it went out to him, and he held it up well and got a free kick. So Ipswich got a chance, and it looks like they're playing a little bit more direct tonight, so we'll see if the big fella can have some sort of imprint on that Arsenal back 4.
What a chance that was in the opening 30 seconds. Down the left, the cross into the box, which actually took a flick, I think, off the arm of Urian Timber, and as a result of that, it came into the path of Smodic when he wasn't really expecting it. He reacted late as a result of that, and he didn't quite get a connection to take it past David Raya. 0-0, 3.5 minutes gone. This is TalkSport live at the Emirates Stadium on a misty night in North London. Alan Pardew and I sitting at the back of the first tier of seats here at the Emirates Stadium. We're about 20 seat rows from the front, behind the dugouts, the Ipswich dugout just in front of us, the Arsenal one away to our left, and standing right on the edge of the technical area, the suave figure of Mikel Arteta, all in black, watching Ipswich attack down the left flank. Thrown in by Leif Davis, picked up by Delap, he couldn't hold it, and Rice pinches it, gives it back to Lewis Skelly, and now a little bit overrun by Saliba, and across comes the battering ram, Liam Delap. He is absolutely huge, isn't he? And he's muscular and broad, and he's not afraid to get involved in a physical battle.
Yeah, he's sort of settled very well into the Premier League. You know, obviously a lot of talk about him perhaps being one of these so-called old-fashioned type of centre-forwards, but his work rate is immense, and he's given himself a nice platform here at Ipswich.
And his dad, who didn't score too many goals, Rory Delap, used to love scoring against Arsenal.
Certainly did.
A ball up right through the middle of the pitch by Arsenal. David Raya with a long straight kick. It comes through towards Lewis Skelly, who looked to release Jesus, who was trying to run in behind. Ødegaard picks it up in a half space between the penalty area and in behind Sami Smodic. Works it to Martinelli, who's crossed to the far post. It's flicked away by Warfenden, and it's put out for the first corner of the game. And Arsenal do love a corner.
Well, Martinelli, brilliant there. He went on the outside, and you know, with Saka not in the team, that's going to be so important for them that he gives them chances and options from that side. It was a great ball in, something that Delap, the Ipswich striker, I'm pretty sure would have scored from. But you know, as it is with Arsenal, they haven't really got that target. At set plays they have, and Gabriel obviously massively important to be very much where he is.
Who's
today.
watching Gabriel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it is Liam Delap, who was holding on to him on the edge of the penalty area and stopping him from getting his run into the box. Remember, Arsenal have got 24 goals from corners since the start of last season and 32 from all dead ball situations. The corner about to come in over on the far side. Delap watching Gabriel again. There's a little bit of body popping going on between the two of them. It goes in towards the near post.
He doesn't come in tonight. Obviously played a good chunk of that second half at Crystal Palace, but also Skelly keeps his place. I guess it's gently bringing Calafiori back in, isn't it? But you're right, his passing, his ability to sort of split a defence might have come into Mikel Arteta's thinking, because he's done it 2 or 3 times, hasn't he, already in the first team.
So, free kick left-hand side after Miles Lewis-Skelly was fouled, and Ødegaard's cross pass to the edge of the penalty area is easily intercepted. We didn't expect that one.
No, poor execution, which is interesting there. It's like a modern phenomenon. Both set-piece coaches out in the corner of their own respective technical area. It's almost as if the managers don't have anything to do with it anymore, and it's their domain. But yeah, Ipswich, their representative out there studying what the players were doing.
Do you think that because they've seen one set-piece coach do it, then they have to
probably
do it,
Nicolas Chauvet is obviously a bit of a trailblazer. I think absolutely. They all think it's their right now to be out there with a gaffer.
I don't really get it. I first spotted it. I went to a pre-season game, saw Brentford play, saw Keith Andrews there. I thought, what on earth is he doing there? And he's set-piece coach at Brentford, and he was, standing up at set pieces, sitting down for the rest of the game. What on earth is he doing? And found out that's his role anyway. Here is Gabriel for Aston. We've had 9 minutes here at the Emirates. Fairly cold, late December night in the capital. Good contingent that have come from Suffolk. Not easy with an 8:15 kickoff to get back, even though it's relatively close. Here is Trossard for Arsenal, moving infield. Plays it back towards Saliba. Saliba on the halfway line, takes a look up, nothing on, and plays it back towards Havertz. Has dropped a little deep. Now Trossard, who's come infield, back towards Havertz once again. Jesus further forward, Rice through the middle at the moment as Gabriel takes a touch and plays it towards Miles Lewis-Skelly. Lewis-Skelly into the final third, taps it infield for Jesus. No, in fact, Jesus moves back towards the penalty spot, slipped through by Gabriel. It's cleared, and Ipswich, well, it's going to be a long night for them if this is their intended tactic. Because it is not easy. The concentration levels go through the roof. The mental fatigue really kicks in the second half, let alone the physical situation. But they have won possession momentarily. The ball goes out of play for an Arsenal throw.
Yeah, it's one-way traffic, isn't it? Yeah. In terms of possession. It's all Arsenal. It really is. But we haven't, really asked too many questions so far in and around the box. You're looking for a little bit more, aren't you, from us? I'm sure that will come. But at the moment, that back five and it's kind of 4 in front, isn't it, really? The 2 central midfielders and then those attacking midfielders, they're bunkered in. It's very much a 5-2-2-1. We've not moved them around maybe as much as Mikel Arteta would have liked.
Rice with the ball moves away from Schmodix. Now it's with Gabriel and Miles Lewis-Skelly. Central position. Plays it back for Gabriel, 40 yards out. Gabriel takes a touch. Murray Hutchinson closes him down. Played forward towards Lewis-Skelly, and now it's with Trossard further left still. Into the final third, Arsenal come forward. Short here for Gabriel, and now Trossard once again. Jesus had made a move, but the Belgian will play it back, and Gabriel side-foots it to Martin Ødegaard. What can the skipper do here? He will be key, you sense, in trying to unlock this packed Ipswich defence, whether they are well drilled and disciplined? We will find out, but the league position and the goals that they conceded would suggest that they find it very difficult to keep sides out. Obviously that 4-0 hammering at the hands of Newcastle last time out, and that was at Portman Road. Here was Martinelli, was giving it away straight to Hutchinson, who's breaking forward. Delap is calling for it in field, but that's a little sloppy, and Havertz has it.
Yeah, they need Hutchinson to be better in possession than that. Obviously, you can't just keep giving it back to us. They've made 15 passes so far, Arsenal 126. That is 89% of possession for Arsenal, and 12 minutes into the game. So, yeah, we're on for a bit of a record breaker if it continues in this vein.
Yeah, I think there could be some big numbers in situations like that. Jesus tries to flick it for Havertz. It was a nice idea. The execution was off, but only just, and it's cleared away. Yeah, I just wonder here, there is a significant difference. We were talking about Palace and the fact that they had a slightly more, or I say slightly more, a more ambitious game plan in so much as they were, you know, always looking to get some players forward and press Arsenal. And you were suggesting that although they were sitting back, they could spring, and Arsenal wanted to try and draw them out. I don't think Ipswich are going to be drawn out here, are they?
No, we prefer, there's no doubt about it, we prefer to play against teams like Palace that want to be adventurous, that want to come at us. It's been proven in recent times that these are the type of opponents that might not trip us up, but cause us a little bit of frustration. So it's all about finding solutions, isn't it? And you know, we are experimenting as a team at the moment anyway.
Long ball forward for Jesus, edge of the penalty area. Martinelli's gone down off the ball. Jesus will curl it back in. It's gone over towards Trossard. Now it's back with Martin Odegaard. Miles Lewis-Skelly will play it forward. Trossard again. Can he get the shot away? It's blocked and it spins away for a corner.
Yeah. Trying to walk the ball in there a little bit. Arsenal, it's decent. It's a great touch. A lovely long ball forward to Gabriel Jesus. He holds it and he picks out Trossard beautifully. And then I think it's the wrong pass. He tries to set up Odegaard. He has to play it to Lewis-Skelly. Everything slows down. It comes back to Trossard, and he chops back in, and the shot's on target. It was always going to be blocked. Do you have a corner?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just think in a situation like that, when Jesus puts the ball across the face of goal, just wrap your right boot around it and chance your arm. One touch there, Trossard.
More familiar lineup from the corner, with everyone back post going to rush inside the 6-yard area, and it's high towards that back post, and it's Trossard that will nod it down to the edge of the box where Odegaard is stationed. Here is the Norwegian. Odegaard waits 2 Ipswich players to try and beat potentially. Trossard outside him, curls towards the back post, and it's towards Gabriel. Good defensive work by Calvin Phillips on that occasion. Put his body on the line against Gabriel. Ipswich have possession, but deep inside their own half, just outside their own penalty box. Arsenal win it back. That's good endeavour by Gabriel down by the corner flag on the left-hand side. Eventually he goes down, but Arsenal still have it here. It's worked to the edge of the box. This is Odegaard again. Rice is outside him, so is Gabriel. Plays it back towards Rice, edge of the penalty area. Curls it inside the box. Nodded away this time by Leif Davis. And Omar Hutchinson to come forward, tries to play it towards the lap, and there's another example of the former Arsenal junior not quite working, using the ball as well as he should do.
Yeah, look, they've got to look after the ball better, Ipswich, when they have it. You know, they've had so few of it. 10.4%, 18 passes, but only 9 of their 18 passes have been successful. 50% success rate. You know, they're panicking a little bit. As soon as they get hold of the ball, we're rushing them into mistakes. So, yeah, look, the pattern is set, but you know, we've
just not going to get frustrated here, right?
No, and you have to be patient, but you also have to play with a tempo, and you have to be relentless, and you have to speed things up to a degree. And we've used that word chaos quite a lot. You've got to create chaos. You have to. Just be a bit unpredictable. Don't play in straight lines. Mess things up on purpose so that a player gets drawn out of position.
Here is Miles Lewis-Skelly. Now it's with Trossard on the left-hand side. Back towards Saliba via Gabriel, and now Jurrien Timber. 15 minutes, nearly 16 minutes gone here at the Emirates. Arsenal coming forward with Martin Odegaard. Now it's with Jurrien Timber. Timber plays it to the right-hand side of Martinelli. Martinelli with a step over and a jink and a shimmy. Tries to get beyond Leif Davis. Leif Davis goes down very easily, but it's going to be a free kick to Ipswich.
Yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing there, didn't he? That was it was actually good defending. He stays on his feet. Martinelli was a little bit hesitant, I'd say, in that particular 1v1. What he's got to do is just use his speed, just knock it out. Knock it, probably in that situation where he's only got 6 or 7 yards to play with, that's maybe not the best domain for Martinelli. If he's got 15 yards to play with, he can knock it out of his feet and explode past any fullback in this division. No doubt about that.
Well, just taking his time before punting it long. It's towards Delap, beaten in the air by Timber. Jesus with a clever touch. Martinelli plays it infield, and then, well, it's a free kick that's gone Arsenal's way here, and the perpetrator was Greaves. That's going to be a free kick on the halfway line, not taken in the right position, but it doesn't matter because Arsenal have it with Rice, and now it's with Julian Timber. Kieran McKenna just in front of our commentary position, got the puffer jacket on. It is cold tonight, got the grey slacks and the two-tone trainers. Here is Rice, very good coach, as we know. Never quite sure if he was number 1 for the Chelsea job or not. Did he turn that one down before Maresca or not? He was linked,
not sure.
wasn't he?
He was linked. He's very good, and I think one day he will manage a club that size. But yeah, he's got his work cut out with Ipswich. I like the fact that he stayed though, and he's given it a go. And yeah, this is going to be a tall order to keep them in the division, but they're an excellently coached team. They actually want the ball. They're really good in possession, Ipswich. It's just at Premier League level against teams like us, they just can't get hold of it.
Miles Lewis-Skelly, left-hand side for Arsenal. We've had 18 minutes here. Ipswich keeping the Gunners out. Back towards Saliba and over towards Martinelli. Martinelli faced up by Schmodix. Now it's with Timber, and now Havertz. Arsenal on the move, edge of the Arsenal penalty area, in for Odegaard. Touch was poor, cleared away by Kayust. Now it's with Gabriel. Just an injection of pace there gave Ipswich a little bit of trouble. Here is Gabriel once again, 35 yards out, forced back to the halfway line, and Saliba taps it away from Delap. And now it's with Julian Timber. Good run from Timber, really fine run. The shot straight down the throat of Muric, who makes the save, but that's the sort of chaos we were hoping for.
Exactly, the sort of chaos I was hoping for. It was great play. They dive in on him a little bit, and he just surges through, goes past 2 or 3 players, Julian Timber, and he takes the shot on. It's got power. Unfortunately for Timber, it lacks the direction. It's straight at the goalkeeper. Easy save for him, but that's exactly what you have to do, especially if they're going to go man-to-man and block up everything. Dribbling becomes really important, and if you can take the ball past somebody, suddenly it creates space elsewhere, because someone's got to leave their post to come and block you, and that's when you can slip somebody else in. So dribbling is going to be hugely important for us tonight. If we just pass, it'll be comfortable for Ipswich. We've got to bring something different to the table.
Timber, who scored against Manchester United in the 2-0 success here, only Premier League goal for Arsenal since joining from Ajax, and very much first choice right back at the moment, with Ben White still out, of course. And Takehiro Tomiyasu also on the sidelines because of injury. Here is Saliba. We've had 20 minutes at the Emirates Stadium. It is Arsenal 0, Ipswich 0. The Premier League new boys holding the Gunners at the minute. This is Trossard, steps away from Hutchinson. Was he caught there? Well, the referee has allowed play to continue anyway. This is Miles Lewis-Skelly. Now it's with Trossard again. Looks to lift the ball inside the penalty area towards Martinelli. Beaten in the air by Davis. Timber gets a touch to it. Martinelli will have another go running at Davis here potentially. Twist and a turn, but he's forced away from the Ipswich penalty area. Now it's with Saliba, and eventually to Martinelli again. Rory Delap's putting himself about a bit, isn't he, at the minute?
I wonder if he's got a long throw, this old man.
I don't know. You'd want not to have it in a way, wouldn't you?
He wants to be the one getting on the end of it.
You don't want to have it, really. Trossard cleared away by Ipswich again. Yeah.
Oh, they're creating frustration. That the possession share, incidentally, it's now 92.1%. I mean, this is as much as I've seen here in a game. Certainly 21 minutes here. I cannot remember us having over 92% of possession. That equates to 227 passes to 19.
It's an incredible number.
I think if a non-league team came here, they'd expect to maybe have more of the ball than this. So Quite remarkable, but not a lot to show for it really in terms of efforts. Just the 2 shots.
Timber for Martinelli on the right-hand side. Jesus, Martinelli once more. Edge of the penalty area, right flank. Side foots it for Gabby Jesus. Looks for Odegaard, but Greaves is in the way. And then Davis and Schmolix between them get a touch apiece, and then Schmolix loses out, and Jesus drives to the byline. It ricochets towards Odegaard. It's cleared away by Calvin Phillips, and then further away, but it's picked up by Rice. Havertz was flattened there, and the Arsenal fans below was not happy, but Arsenal have it again. Here's Gabriel. Well, Arsenal fans patient at the moment. 22 minutes in, curled inside the penalty area towards Havertz, cleared to the edge of the box. Odegaard jumps. Schmolix is there, lifts it high up into the air, and then Hutchinson and Rice both go for that one. It breaks for Martinelli on the right-hand side. Martinelli looking to curl the ball in, gets the cross in again nice and early, bounces through towards Trossard, just inside the box, left flank. Trossard to the byline, low ball in, chance here, taken. Kai Havertz, right place, right time, a yard out after some patient build-up play from Arsenal. And as the cross came in from the left-hand side, the German had the simple task of firing into an unguarded net, and it's Ipswich 0, Arsenal 1.
We absolutely deserve it, and it's good wing play from both wide men. It really is. Martinelli initially doesn't need much space, doesn't need to beat his man. He just shifts it and bends it around Schmolix to the far post. It falls to Trossard, and he goes past Ben Johnson like he's not there on the outside, and he delivers a lovely left foot cross into that corridor in front of the goalkeeper, Muric. It's really, really good from Trossard. This is the value of being two-footed. He just is no hesitation. Out onto the left-hand side, takes it past his man, whips it across the face of goal. Havertz does what we said he should do. Breaking forward from central midfield to become a centre-forward, volleys it in. Lovely, lovely finish.
It's interesting tonight because Martinelli naturally is going to go on the right because he's playing on the right. Trossard on the other side, as you just pointed out, can do both. I think we've become accustomed, certainly the last year, certainly last season, of both wingers coming infield. If it's Saka on this side and Martinelli on the other, as Arsenal look to clear here with Ipswich trying to press Arsenal. They'll come out to this near side, but back towards the halfway line. And this is something different, isn't it, from Arsenal, you know?
Yeah. And look, you know, it's a blow to lose Bukayo Saka. We all want him to be back in this team ASAP, but it gives us an opportunity to try something else. Early on in the season with no Odegaard, we tried 2 up front. It was like a 4-4-2. Worked in some games, worked less effectively in others. Tonight we've gone all-out attack, you know. Havertz and Odegaard as 2 of your midfielders, 2 wingers that want to go on the outside. It's something slightly different, and it's another string to our bow.
I mean, we have seen it previously, that 2 years ago, Saka and White used to combine a lot, and then it was a marked difference, wasn't it, the next campaign? Yeah. But you've got to try and mix it up, and really good ball in. Early ball from Martinelli as well, made it to a certain extent, didn't it? Because there was space for Trossard.
The high crosses aren't, they're not the one. They weren't the one against Everton, and they're not tonight. They've got 3 centre-halves. Those 3 centre-halves want us to clip high balls in the box, because that's what they're good at, you know, centre-halves. So, head it away, head it, kick it away. What I don't want is to have to deal with balls cut back from the byline or flashed along the face of goal, and that's what we did there for the strike, and hopefully we can produce those kind of scenarios a lot more often.
Well, Havertz scores again. It's his 7th of the season in the Premier League, and the Gunners a goal to the good. It's been a patient display so far. Arsenal rewarded with some probing and a little bit more penetration, and a fairly straightforward goal for Kai Havertz. Arsenal will look to get this game done and dusted as soon as possible now. Ipswich ain't going to change the way they play, that's for sure. We've seen it so often, not just over the last few years, but going back a decade or more. Teams that aren't expected to do too much at 1-0 down don't change. Maybe at 2, maybe at 2, certainly at 3 they have to try something, but we don't see it, do we? They will just look to hang on at 1 and play exactly the same way.
They want to stay in the game until half-time, and from there, second half, you might see something different. But no, they won't suddenly go all-out attack Ipswich, because they don't want to be buried here tonight. They don't want to be destroyed. You know, they won't ever admit it, but damage limitation probably is important A, for goal difference, but also for morale.
Thrown to Arsenal, level with the penalty spot, left-hand side. Miles Lewis-Skelly's going to take this. He's got a little bit of movement with Havertz towards the byline, and Rice has come across as well, but it's thrown down into the turf for Gabriel to control. He finds Saliba back towards Gabriel. The two Arsenal centre-halves trade passes before Trossard gets the touch and then plays it back to Big Gabby once more, and then Rice tries to knock it round the corner. It actually hits Phillips before spinning back to an Arsenal player, and Rice is going to have another go at trying to get another attack going here for Arsenal. 27 minutes on the clock here. Arsenal 1, Ipswich 0, as Timber looks for Odegaard, and now it's with Martinelli, and back towards Odegaard once again. Here is Havertz, and now Timber. Martinelli wide right, Timber back for Havertz. Timber again looking to take it beyond Schmodix, plays it inside the area. Odegaard steps over the ball but runs into trouble. Phillips is there. Oh, and then, well, Timber had gone down just for a split second. I thought there was a penalty, but no one really looked to the officials, and it's gone out of play for an Ipswich throw.
Yeah, I think it was a collision. Timber did ever so well, didn't he, again? Taking players on. That's 2 or 3 times now. The Dutchman's burst into the box. I think, I'm just looking at a replay of it, I don't really see a foul from Leif Davis. He kind of charged into him, and then there was contact and he goes down, but I don't think there was a foul from the Ipswich man. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jury and Timber in the early stages here. Very, very positive. Looks quick. He is quick, isn't he? He's got all the attributes to be a top fullback.
Ipswich looking to win away in the league at Arsenal for the first time since the late 70s. Arnold Muren on the score sheet that day. Last time they beat Arsenal in a league game in the mid-80s was the League Cup semi-final between the two just over a decade ago. Ipswich won at Portman Road, but Arsenal overturned that pretty comfortably with a 3-0 success here.
Yeah, I was here for that one.
Flag is up. Surely the referee's going to let it go. It's an Ipswich player that's strayed offside.
Interested to see Declan Rice back at sort of DM or defensive midfield tonight. I thought he was brilliant. We talked about it, didn't we?
When he came on,
when he played against Crystal Palace, I thought he was absolutely outstanding on the left there. But having to play a sort of more restrained role tonight. But in essence, because we've got so much of the ball, it isn't. You can go and have a run and drive forward. He can join in. A lot of the time, at the moment, he's inside his own half, but I would imagine he's going to spend a lot of the match sort of only 40 yards from the Ipswich Town goal, so he can still power forward like he did to such good effect at Selhurst.
Approaching the half hour, Arsenal lead by a goal to 0. Kai Havertz 7th of the season in the Premier League. Here is Miles Lewis-Skelly infield, plays it short for Declan Rice. Rice takes a look up and looks for Timber on the right. Forward towards Odegaard. Odegaard racing free. Right flank, he's got Jesus outside him. Havertz joining in the attack. Here is Kai Havertz. Now it's with Gabriel Jesus in towards Odegaard. The back heel is good. Havertz for Martinelli, looking for Havertz, who's been brought down. It's come back out for Jesus. Miles Lewis-Skelly, fans want him to shoot. He doesn't. It's out to Trossard, left-hand side. Drops the shoulder, then back on his left foot. Now on his right, and then plays it back for Rice, who will have a go, dipping, but not quite dipping enough. Not the worst effort.
Oh, he can score a lot of goals from that domain, Declan Rice. No doubt about it. We're patient. We wait, and then he just gets it to the left of the D. He's got space to have a pop, and he whips it nicely, doesn't it? It's a very good connection. He's got a lot of dip on it. I'll tell you what, it's about, what, 6 inches from the top corner. It's really not too far away at all. Really good effort from Declan Rice. Keeper would not have saved it. No chance. I mean, he's down on goals, isn't he, this year, Declan Rice, compared to last year. Hopefully the second half of the season he can sort of make up some lost ground on that front. He's good enough to score, I don't know, eight goals a season for sure, Declan Rice.
Yeah, 7 last season, a little bit of an outlier in his career, but let's face it, the previous campaigns were at West Ham. He's always going to get more chances at Arsenal. A little bit of regression this season, maybe, but yeah, we expect him.
It was his first, wasn't it? The other day?
Yeah, it was his first in the league,
yeah. Well, he got one in the cup.
Has he got one in
I
the
think
cup?
he scored against Bolton, didn't he? Yeah.
And that 5-1 win here. Scored for England as well, of course.
Yeah.
But first in the league. Yeah, look, I think if you can get 7 or 8 all comps from a midfielder like that, who's going to play different positions, isn't he? You know, he's playing a little bit deeper. So I know he's had a couple of shots here, but
That's good play from Ipswich.
Yeah, they've drawn Arsenal on, and they've managed to find a gap, and Hutchinson will play it over to the right-hand side. Now then, let's see what Ipswich can do here. 3 inside the penalty area. The cross does come in, but it's David Raya who will do really well with Delap looking to put a bit of pressure on.
Yeah, look, it's beautiful. Ipswich are very comfortable playing out from the back. They did it excellently in the Championship, and they did it there, and they played it brilliantly because they drew us in and they found the spare man, which was Amari Hutchinson, in acres of space in central midfield, and then they launched the attack from there. So that's something we've got to be careful of. They again, you know, these are routines that they work on a lot. Ipswich, they've been caught out with them.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they've conceded goals from those kind of situations, but when it works, they really do look a good side.
Raya for Arsenal, just outside of his penalty area, plays it for Saliba. Just a little bit of a warning shot for Arsenal that Ipswich have got quality if given the opportunity. Miles Lewis Skelly now, deep inside Arsenal territory, plays it for Saliba, back towards David Raya. Nothing on at the moment. Delap is stationary, but Bollard in the way, so to speak. He's never going to catch anyone for pace, I don't think, is he, Delap? But
he's not slow. He's not slow.
Yeah,
he travels with the ball quickly. Yeah. But yeah, he's not super rapid, but I think he's a powerful front man. I think he could do a job for teams in the Premier League for many seasons. Yeah, might have to leave Ipswich, I guess, if they do go down this summer. But yeah, he's got the attributes to be a good centre forward.
Strange, isn't it? I saw him in the Man City youth team a few times, and I thought he got absolutely no chance of making it. What do I know?
Well,
then he had some lone spells where he didn't blossom at all.
I saw him at home last year.
Yeah.
I saw him there, and he did all right.
Yeah.
But you would never have said, oh, he's going to be thriving at the Premier League level next season. You just wouldn't. But players develop at different times, and he's still very young, of course.
Not had too much of an impact tonight, thankfully. Not too much of the ball. Ipswich haven't full stop. 33 minutes in, Arsenal have won possession back and moved forward as Miles Lewis Skelly plays it for Trossard. Trossard forward here for Jesus. Great ball. Jesus' control.
It's in.
It's gone in. Now the flag has gone up here. Now, who was offside?
Well,
I presume he's flagging for Jesus. The linesman has actually come back, and it's as if Jesus is off.
Let's have a look at this.
Let's have a look at this one, Aidy. What do we think?
It's a really good through ball. Oh, it's tight. It's tight, but I think he's just off. Doesn't he do well to get the ball in?
Because he miscontrols it, doesn't he, initially?
So it's a great little through ball, isn't it, from Leandro Trossard into the left channel. And it's the angle's mega tight. It's a miscontrol. And basically he goes to the byline and he flicks it through the legs of the goalkeeper. It's an incredibly cute finish. But yeah, it was, I don't know, that much offside. It was sort of, I don't know, it was
half
clear.
A player.
Yeah, it was clear.
Ipswich attacking. The VAR check's just been completed offside, as we knew.
Thanks,
goal doesn't stand. Thanks for stepping in for that. The ball out of play for an Arsenal throw, left-hand side. Game's coming thick and fast for Arsenal, of course, and will be across every single one of them for you.
You're not going anywhere in January, are you, Dan?
I tell you, unbelievable, isn't it? Weekend after midweek after weekend after midweek. But look, it's an absolute pleasure, as always. But yeah, Brighton, of course, on New Year's Day. That game pushed back a little bit. And sorry, Brentford New Year's Day, then Brighton after that. And then 5 home games on the spin. Newcastle League Cup semi-final first. FA Cup third round, Manchester United. Small matter of Spurs midweek, who decided on that. Then Villa, then Dinamo Zagreb in the Champions League for match day 7. Unbelievable sequence. You're not missing anything because players halted for a second. Jesus, does he need a bit of treatment here? I think he's
you
okay.
got a knock in the face. You got a smack in the face. I think he's okay. He's going to have a little drop ball and we'll play on. But yeah, look, it's changed around those possession stats that we were giggling about earlier on. It's come back a little bit more towards the norm, if 83% can ever be considered the norm.
It's not really the norm, is it? But I know what you mean.
Drop ball, a little bit of controversy over this drop ball. I don't think they expected Arsenal to play on. Let's have a look at this. They're giving it to Ipswich. That's it. They give it to Ipswich, and then we took it straight off them. And the referee has said, no, you can't do that. But the thing is, you can.
You can.
You actually
That's the whole point
Once
of that,
you drop the ball, ref,
Absolutely.
it's done.
It's in play. That's the
Come
rule.
on, referee.
It's for the Ipswich players to be a little bit alive on this, you know.
I mean, yeah, maybe we should have been a bit more sportsmanlike and let them make a pass. But there's nothing in the rule book that says you have to.
This is not Carnu-esque.
I mean, it's just the modern game. It's gone, isn't it? The game is gone. If you can't contest the drop ball, we didn't even contest it. They didn't do much with it, so we tackled them. You can't stop it and do it again.
You wouldn't have handed Sheffield United a replay then back in the day, obviously. Long for Jesus, can't control that one. It's cleared away by Greaves. And now it's with Gabriel to play it back. And eventually it's come towards Saliba. 37 minutes in here. Arsenal lead by a goal to nil. Ipswich fans, we can hear for the first time a little bit. Here is Rice. And now it's with Saliba just outside his own penalty area, right-hand side, angle of the box, taps it back to Raya. And Raya outside of his own area, no real significant pressure. Yes, there's bodies in the shape of Hutchinson and Delap, but they're not really putting the ball, the player on the ball under any real pressure.
A bit of a lull, isn't there? Yeah, we're just sort of getting our breath back.
Long for Martinelli to chase. Davis is there. That's a bit better from Ipswich. Delap's touch his knee. Hutchinson has it. Thought about reversing it back, running to a blind alley really at the minute. He's got two Arsenal players around him. Eventually goes down, wins a free kick. No, other way. Falls on the floor, handles it. Yeah, a lot of referees are picking up on that, aren't they, in the minute?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's happened to us 2 or 3 times in recent games, hasn't it? Where opponents diving has been spotted and punished accordingly. So well done the referee on that front. Yeah, look, I think it's time to pick up the tempo again now and go up a gear or two if we can before half-time, get that cushion of a second goal, and then we can start to experiment a little bit maybe in the second period. But at 1-0, it's not the kind of match where you can take liberties. We have to keep that foot down.
Arsenal have it with Gabriel back towards Saliba, and Saliba plays it over towards Kai Havertz, who's popped up over on the left-hand side, pretty much on the touchline, on the halfway line, far side as we watch here at the Emirates. There's a little bit of a fog around, isn't there, tonight in the capital, has been for much of the day and for much of the country, I think, as well.
Foggy journey down today.
Long for Jesus to battle with Davis. Davis lets it hit his thigh. Greaves will complete the clearance. Timber underneath it to nod it down the flank. Davis is there ahead of Jesus and Martinelli. Fullback comes forwards, finds Schmodix. Schmodix gifts it to Jesus and Martinelli, but neither can really make anything of it, and it's an Ipswich throw.
Yeah, just get a little bit fiddly, wasn't it, there from us? Was that on our monitor? We can see Ed Sheeran in the house. Of course he's here. Of course he's here.
Well, in the top flight he would be, wouldn't he?
Well, he's the sponsor, isn't he? Is he? He's the sponsor. The shirt sponsor, you'll notice, is his album.
Is that right? But mate, you look,
He's more than just a celebrity fan.
I'm 53. I wouldn't spot a single, let an album of Ed Sheeran's, of Ned Sheeran. Anyway, player down. Is it Delap that got clouted? Free kick here.
Yeah, look, he's okay. Look, it's always what happens, isn't it? You know, player goes down, you stop it for a head injury, and then they get straight back up.
Not quite sure. We've just seen a replay that wasn't the incident.
It was Greaves, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Delap, the player that was down. It's been spoken with the referee.
But yeah, look, we're 1-0 up, we're cruising, but I don't feel, and it's been not a physical examination, has it? It's been a very gentle first half. We've kind of almost not really got out first or second gear, so it wouldn't have taken too much out of the players. But what I would like to see is just a little bit more running power, a bit more drive when we have the ball. I think since we took the lead, we've maybe just eased off a touch too much.
Havertz, ball at his feet, plays it back for Gabriel inside the Arsenal half, square for Saliba. Saliba takes a look up and knocks it back here for Lewis Skelly, who spins brilliantly away from Calvin Phillips. Terrific play from the teenager as Miles Lewis Skelly comes forward on the left flank. Now it's with Trossard, angle of the box to the left-hand side, back towards Declan Rice. Fans wanting to shoot, clipped inside the area. Martinelli nods it down inside the 6-yard box, cleared away by Greaves, and then Martinelli and Davis go shoulder to shoulder. The Brazilian comes up with possession, gets to the byline, manages to get a crossing of sorts. The ball had gone. He's a bit unlucky there, Martinelli, because his endeavour and willingness and industry was nearly rewarded. He was being fouled all the time.
I thought so.
But he stays on his feet.
I thought the assistant was going to flag for a free kick there. Just seeing a replay of the goal, it was the perfect ball in. Absolutely brilliant from Leandro Trossard, who's quietly getting himself back into form, isn't he? The Belgian contributing on a fairly consistent basis again now, and that's what he did. As soon as he joined us, he was chipping in with goals and assists, wasn't he? Tim Peters, our esteemed commentary friend, did he give you that stat ahead of kick-off about Kai Havertz?
No, what did he give us?
Oh, he kept that to himself.
Oh no, he did. He did tell me about his double, or lack of.
Just the one brace.
Yeah.
In Arsenal colours.
Yeah.
Chelsea here, wasn't it, in the spring?
Yeah.
Which is surprising, isn't it?
It is surprising, given the amount that Arsenal scored and given his position, given the amount of goals that he has scored as well. But it also makes me think that, he scores important goals. He can score winners in 1-0s and crucial goals in 2s and so on. He's good like that.
Yeah, definitely. And he plays a lot of 90 minutes, doesn't he, Kai Havertz? So it's a surprise that he hasn't done it more than once. Tonight he's got a great opportunity, hasn't he?
Has he?
Yeah.
We'll see if he can get a brace here against Ipswich. 2.5 minutes to go until half-time here. This is Muric with the ball at his feet. Towards the lap, but Rice is in the way. Drops for Odegaard. Now it's with Timber. I would say that Arsenal are very comfortable at the moment. Here is David Raya to the halfway line, and Martinelli beaten in the air by Davis, forward towards Delap, controls just about, runs into trouble. Saliba plays it in field. Havertz moves from right to left, but he's forced back towards his own penalty area by Calvin Phillips. Now it's with Declan Rice. Rice looks up, still deep inside Arsenal territory. Forward for Mars Lewis Skelly. Phillips doesn't get the ball, does get the man free kick.
Yeah, he's popping up more and more, isn't he, in central midfield, Mars Lewis Skelly. Just a little stat for you. Touches in the opposition box, I like this one. 23-0 so far, so they haven't had a touch in our box yet. Ipswich are that sloppy, isn't it, from Jurriën Timber. One thing I will say is that Martin Odegaard was really bright and breezy early on in the game. On the ball a lot, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Last 20 minutes, we haven't really seen Martin get hold of the ball and run the game like he can. It's Declan Rice has seen a lot of the ball, but maybe Havertz and Odegaard, can we get them with the ball at their feet a little bit more often?
Here is Declan Rice. We're into the final minute of the half. Can't imagine there's going to be a lot of added on time here. We've had the odd stoppage, though, I guess. Here is Saliba, and now it's with Odegaard. Schmodik's jockeys, closes down a touch. Odegaard back for Saliba, and here is the skipper once again. Nimble with the ball at his feet, but not making any sort of progress, but a straight ball that Jesus will collect, who will play it over to the left-hand side, and Trossard flaps it back for Declan Rice. Rice central, 35 yards out, a bit closer in maybe now. Arsenal still looking to work an opening for a second right at the end of this first half here. Odegaard again scoops it inside the penalty area, doesn't quite drop for an Arsenal player. There were runners, and 1 minute of added on time we've got.
Yeah, just the one. Look, we have to be inventive there. There's a mass wall of blue shirts, and it was a little scoopy pass, wasn't it, that almost came off for Arsenal. But yeah, you just need to get Havertz up there a little bit more advanced, get Odegaard on the ball higher up the pitch. He's coming deeper and deeper to get it. Like to see him in and around the D. One-touch football. Can we go bang, bang, bang in and around the D and fashion an opportunity in that manner?
Odegaard. Here is Rice. Now it's with Timber. And back for Havertz for Saliba. Added minute is just about up. One final opportunity maybe, not with a ball like that. Miles might be recycled though by Timber. Does get there down by the corner flag on the right-hand side. Minute is just about up. Havertz for Gabriel. Fans know that time is just about up to the players. It's Timber Oh, and that's the end of the half, and a bit of frustration from supporters down below. Kai Havertz, the 7th goal of the season. The difference between the two sides here. Ipswich have come with our low block, but the German, courtesy of some good work from first Martinelli and in particular Trossard, has given Arsenal the lead. The Gunners, who have been pretty comfortable, haven't been extended at the other end. Just that Schmodic's chance inside the opening minute that gave us a brief scare. But look, Arsenal are keeping Ipswich at arm's length. And how here, Adrian? This has been pretty comfortable.
Yeah, really, really sort of easy workout for us. 24 touches inside the box to nil. Possession-wise, 85% of it has been ours. I would like more shots, just the 4 in that first half. I think that if we went through the gears and started to use a bit more of our running power, we can really take Ipswich to the cleaners. At the moment, it looks like we're looking to win this game using up the minimum amount of energy. The goal itself was brilliant. I loved it. Great wing play from Martinelli, and then from Trossard to set up Havertz. But yeah, in the second half, we're going to have to just shift ourselves a little bit, move our bodies, create some chaos by movement, and then I think we'll